3, 2, 1.
Hang on. It's a neat, isn't it?
It is.
Because obviously I need to know the lady's name before I, you know.
I had dark hair when I started, you know.
Aye, that was just at 7 o'clock.
Right.
Right, now we're good to go.
Yeah,
Do you have to use my real name? Can I not be called something else?
You can be called anything you want, or you can be anonymous if you want.
Do you need that?
Go on, I'll be a neat. It'll be a change.
Is it? Yeah, just for change, just for tonight.
Just for tonight, I'll be a neat.
Okay.
Are we ready to go?
Alright, what I'll do is I'll just leave it rolling. Alright, so
Oh, so we're rolling, are we?
I'll leave it rolling, and any edits will be done on the fly. Alright?
Right.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, we're good to go now, are we, Dave? What does that mean? Are you making some coffee across there, Dave? Are you shaking the beans?
It's a good job this isn't live, man, isn't it?
Well, no, this is exactly what we're like on a
No,
Thursday night.
this is exactly what
Ah,
we're
this is a Thursday night, so this is exactly what it's like.
But we are recording, by the way, so.
Right. No bother.
Come on, carry
Right.
on.
So we're here at the Welcome Tavern at Sunderland, and I'm joined tonight with Anita, who's going to tell us about some experiences that have happened in the bar.
Kind of experiences.
Anything you want. Well, obviously, hopefully paranormal ones.
It is quite. There has been a few things happened in here. Like I've seen a couple of things. Customers have seen a few things,
Right.
but they don't frighten us.
No. But so what sort of things have you saw and customers reported or so?
Well, there's a woman. Obviously,
Right.
there's a woman. She comes in and she walks past it as if she's going to the toilet. So she just literally just walks past.
Right.
I've actually seen a woman in the toilets.
Right.
Didn't think nothing of it.
Yeah.
Spoke. Didn't get a shock. But afterwards, when I realised the woman wasn't actually in the pub and I'd seen something, I was a bit.
Right.
I don't want to go back in there.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back in there. But there's a lot of strange things happening here as well, like noises and people's drinks are just, especially on a Sunday, when
Right.
the football lads in, they all sit in the top corner, and every week I would see a pint. You would just see the pint. None of the football lads touching it. The pint just going flung off the table.
Right. So obviously a spirit that doesn't like spirits.
But not just probably didn't like the rowdiness of them, and
Yeah.
they were a bit, because they were a bit loud, but they did tend to like stay away from the corner, and they sat further down and they stopped sitting in the corner.
Right.
Because obviously it upset them. So.
Alright. So has there anybody been harmed at all?
No.
No, there's never been any physical harm. Just obviously the poltergeist flicking the beer over.
No, but that's just like probably because the rowdy but the beer just was never aimed at anybody, or nobody's been hurt. The pints have just gone off the table.
And is this something that happens quite regularly, or is it just one-off?
It happened a few times. It happened a few times. It wasn't a one-off occurrence.
But it was always the same spot.
Same spot. Yeah.
Right.
Same table. It wasn't a wonky table or anything like that.
Right.
But as I say, give them the dues. The footy lads did move and stop sitting there. So
as soon as they moved, there was
no
more.
was gone off the other tables. It was just that table. And
so it was obviously something to do with that particular table, whether it was that was the table that this person used to sit at. And and what else? You're on about somebody being in the toilet?
Oh, there was when I was, it was a busy night and I went to the toilet, and as I said, us women, we need to go to the toilet, so I just ran in the toilet and I just says, talking to a lady sitting on the toilet with the door open, and I just says, I'm down for a wee. And then I went into the toilet and I'm thinking, she had a distinctive beige coat with a brooch.
Right.
And I thought, I've been on the bar, like nobody's came in. I've never seen anybody come in and serve it. So I came out the toilet, looked, nobody there, and I walked all around the bar, nobody with this beige coat on. So I said to the other barmaid that I was working with, has there been a woman in with no beige coat? And she says, no. And it was the next day talking to the barmaid that worked on the Sunday, and I described this coat, this woman, and she says, I'll have been Jeff's mum. And then a few weeks later, I said, like, with his sister, and that was all the photographs because it was his sister's birthday, and his mum was there, but I couldn't See, definitely it was her, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
court with the brooch, and says his mum always wore
Right.
the brooch.
And obviously,
And I wouldn't know that.
this person wasn't seen in the bar.
No.
Other than
No.
this experience in the toilet with it.
And it wasn't until I just forgot about it overnight. I thought nothing more of it till the next day, and I was telling the other barmaid, and she said, "Oh, yeah, Jeff's mum used to," because she was brought up with Jeff, and he was
Right.
mum and that. She said, "Oh, his mum used to work up with the brooch." I thought nothing of it.
Yeah. So, is there anything else? Any other?
The customers
Any
have
other
said like
experiences?
there's a little boy.
Right.
There's a little boy that runs about. I've heard him,
Right.
heard noises, but I've never seen him.
You've never actually seen him, but you've heard what could be him running about.
I know he's about when I'm
Right.
in on my own. You can hear the note, and you know he's about.
Right. So,
It's mischievous.
is there a backstory to this little boy?
I-
Because I know
Jeff
talked about
Jeff
woman
knows the
being,
story,
Right.
the backstory to the little
We'll
boy.
speak to Jeff later on. So,
I don't know. He knows the backstory to the little
Right.
boy, but I don't know.
Right. But and is that the only experiences, or is it something
Just
else?
noises and.
Right. When you say noises, what
like-
sort of noises?
When I first started working, I've always come down. I've come down here for about 25 since Jeff's had it 25 years.
Right.
And it's only recently when I started working and I was in the pub on my own in the kitchen and I could hear somebody shouting help.
Right.
Help. So I came out and I looked about and there was nobody about. I went back in the kitchen and started shouting help again. It was getting louder and louder. So I thought, it's somebody winding this up. So I went outside, looked around the building, nothing. Went back in the kitchen and they shouted help again. So I came out of the kitchen and I just said, never mind shouting help, you may need to come in here and give me a hand in the kitchen. And I've heard nothing else since.
Right.
And I've been in here many Saturdays on my own.
Right.
Nothing else, but it was distinctly help.
Right. And
I
this,
just
that
thought-
was the only time that you've heard that.
That's heard it, never heard it since.
Right.
But I was a bit scared, and then I just thought, nah, they can't.
Yeah.
They're going to hurt us. They would shake boo or, like,
Yeah.
they would do something to really make us scared. But
Right. And is there any? I mean, obviously, as you said, we're going to be talking to Jeff later on. Is there any sort of thing that's happened in this particular area that could release spirits, sort of thing? That have been trapped. Is there like an old mine or something around here?
I don't know.
Right.
We'd have to check about that. I'm not an East End lass.
Yeah.
I'm not from the East End.
Yeah. So obviously, it doesn't scare the customers away.
No.
Or is that an attraction?
It's
Do people
not.
come
I wouldn't
because
say it's an
of-
attraction.
Right.
It's not.
It-
It's not. It's not an
it doesn't
attraction.
really
People
affect
don't
the-
come down because they think. But there's
Right.
customers in here and they have.
Yeah.
They've seen it and
And they come back.
they
So
come back.
So it's
They're
not like it scares them away or anything.
They're not.
Because I mean, obviously, these some people might not come to somewhere that's haunted. Some people might come to places.
I wouldn't say it's haunted.
Right.
I would
It's
just say it's like lost souls, lost. Just like
right.
it's not haunted because haunted to me is somewhere where they frighten you or they do something
Right.
to scare you.
So that's your
don't-
district.
Nothing happens to me to scare anybody. It's not to scare anybody.
Right. So your like opinion of being haunted is like the
Yeah,
the
they-
spooky castle.
yeah,
and
they don't want
whatnot.
to hear. They don't want people.
Right.
And I think whatever's here or whoever's here, they don't mind. Certain rowdy ones
Yeah,
they
yeah,
might,
yeah.
but they don't mind. It's they don't scare anybody. Well, they've scared a couple of staff a few times, I suppose.
Well, I suppose if you're here by yourself and you hear something or see something, then it's about
But you can be anywhere and hear noises. Quite
Well, you can,
so
absolutely. Of course, anywhere you go, there's noises.
There's always a reason why there's a noise.
Well,
there's not a reason why you see something.
that's my opinion of everything. There's always a reason behind it, but that's the whole point of this show is to go around and visit people and talk to people and get their stories, because as we've mentioned many times, I'm a non-believer, Dave's a believer, and it's not we're not here to debunk anybody. So I'm not going to say it's this, that, and the other. We're here to have a look and entertain hopefully everybody out there with the stories, and also to let people know areas and places that are out there that things happening at. such as the Welcome Tavern. You may get extra customers from it. Maybe people want to come and visit the little boy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If there's believers out there, there's disbelievers.
Well, it is. I mean, I was having a conversation with Christine, who we'll be talking to later on, and I was saying that as a non-believer, I'm probably a minority rather than the majority. The majority have probably come down on the side of believing that ghosts exist. I don't believe they exist, but I will never tell anybody that they haven't seen a ghost. But I will always look at another explanation for why that happened or why
Which I do. I'm trying to find explanations for it. I just like, as I say, I just thought, no, she might have come in for a week.
And obviously it hasn't affected you because you're still there. You know, you haven't bolted out the door, so it's not like it's affecting you at all. So I mean, obviously we're going to have a wander around later on and go to these places that activity has took place and see what we get. But in the meantime, thank you very much.
No problem. You talk to Mr. Moon now.
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you.
You happy with that?
Yeah, if you ask the questions, I'll answer them.
Brilliant. That's perfect. Right, okay, so what I'm going to start doing, I'll start recording. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready when you are, Jim.
Okay then, 3, 2, 1.
Right, so we're joined here with Jeff, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about the Welcome Tavern, a bit of its history. So we've had a look at the poster, showing us like sort of, or the map, should I say, from way back. So can you tell us a little bit about the history of the...
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pub originally was built in 1834.
Right.
And it was built on the edge of what we had a barracks and militia here. And round about sort of the late 1700s, sort of early 1800s is when Sunderland really started to take off as a you know, a major port a major player within the northeast, and the population obviously boomed.
Yeah.
But we also were at war with France, and you know, there was still lots of conflicts going on, so we needed ports to be protected. Hence, we were sitting on the corner where we had the barracks. So the pub obviously was built to satisfy the needs of
So it was built purely for the militia to start off with,
yeah, to the growing community. We also had a church across the road, which was a sister church to Holy Trinity. Because the population grew that quick, they couldn't get the congregations in the church, so they built another church to take them on. And you know, consequently, from sort of early 1800, the East End and Sunderland, because technically that's where Sunderland really derived from.
Right.
Because we had Bishop Weymouth, Monk Weymouth, and the other parts of the towns where there were sort of little villages, and they kind of like all sort of gelled into one eventually, giving us what we in modern day Sunderland. But the area down here is steeped in a lot of history, a lot of myths and things that have been probably lost in the track of time when we didn't document things properly. You know, it's reported that Burke and Hare operated in Holy Trinity Church.
The famous grave, the grave robbers that never actually robbed a grave.
So, you know, lots of things sort of happened down the area. And as you can, you know, imagine, the ships and foreign sailors coming in and out the port, you know, must have been huge amount of people. You know, bustling times.
So was the port just used for people, or with the dockyards to build ships here as well? Or?
The port itself was built 1850.
Right.
And it was I think there was a port that was, or a dock on the north side, which was built, and I think it was Stevenson that built that. And we had a guy, he was a Yorkshireman, it was a railway magnate, Mr. Hudson. He came up and, you know, decided, we'll build a bigger and better port and railway system, which is probably what the Victorians were all about, because you know, mine's bigger than yours. You know,
Yeah,
hence you see huge
Yeah.
top hats and then really
Yeah,
big top
exactly,
hats.
yeah.
So kind of that's how it evolved. The first railway station was down in the East End.
Right.
So kind of everything just sort of like milled around, so that the population of the East End quickly grew, and,
Yeah.
and the area went from a very prosperous, where the ship owners lived in huge houses
Yeah.
right down here, and like everywhere else, you know, a period of time they moved, and there was a new estate or a new street
Right,
that was
right,
built.
right.
So what was left behind was these huge tenements, which quite quickly became slums,
Right.
which created a problem,
Yeah.
not unlike what we have today.
Right.
Private landlords, etc.,
Yeah.
and it leaves not so good properties
Yeah.
left. It got so bad down here that there was a report that went into Westminster, and there was a small area just down, it was about 100 yards from here, it's called the Hat Case,
Right.
and it was reported that it was the worst slum in the whole of the UK.
All right.
And you know, the reformers decided, right, we cannot allow people to live
Yeah.
in these conditions.
Yeah.
It's probably come from where, because cholera came ashore here.
Yeah.
Sunderland was the first cases of it.
Right. Right.
And so
So we've got Sunderland to blame for a lot.
yeah,
Haven't we?
yeah. So kind of maybe it's been tied in with that, and they said, right, we've got to clear these slums. So
Right.
so in the early part of the century, the sort of 1900s, they cleared a lot of the old tenements and stuff like that. The last ones went around about the 1950s.
Right. So
Sort of.
as late as that.
Yeah, oh
Right.
yeah. I actually have some video recordings of them, actually the bulldozers in,
Right. Yeah.
clearing the last of the what they were called slums.
Right. Right.
And they built new flats, which were called the garths,
Yeah.
and the new estates on the
Yeah.
outlying fields.
Yeah.
So Sunderland quickly spread away, but it's obviously still retained its roots, and over the last few years it's been a resurgence in the historical sort of interest within the old East End, or the old
Oh yeah.
the beginning
Yeah,
of Sunderland.
yeah.
And there's lots of things happened, and within the area that a lot of people have seen, witnessed in a lot of the pubs, a lot of
Yeah.
the buildings, because it's so steeped in history.
Yeah, I was
a
going
lot
to say
of-
there's so much history around
a
here.
lot of things went on.
And then there've been quite an uncomfortable place as well with it being slums, so there'd be like a lot of lost souls, etc.
It's, even when I was young, there was a lot of people who they lived on their own, and pretty much left to their own devices.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be happening today.
Yeah,
The nearest you would get to them is people who are actually living on the streets that will not be
Yeah,
helped.
yeah,
They don't want to be
Oh,
helped.
they
and
choose to be there.
that's
yeah.
nearest. These people,
Yeah.
there just wasn't a mechanism to help them at the time.
Yeah. People ended up that way because
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah, lots of amusing stuff. We're going all night telling you certain characters and
Right.
things.
Right.
And when we were kids, we sort of teased them and this, that, and the other.
Right.
It's not until you get older and you think,
Yeah.
when I was a kid, he was probably 60, 70,
Yeah.
which probably meant he'd fought in the First World
Yeah,
War.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
probably a good chance that he's
Well, you don't as a kid.
he's,
you don't.
he's struggling,
you see
struggling
people
with the
like
effects
yeah,
of
that's
that, and he's meant.
Yeah.
And the reason we tease him because
Yeah.
he's got quirky ways.
right. Yeah. Well, I said, I mean, as a kid, you don't know. do you?
No.
So you
Well, to
do,
be
you
fair,
do see somebody a bit strange, and that's what kids do.
the
yeah.
powers that be didn't really know then.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah, well, exactly.
recognised now. It is
Exactly.
recognised a
Yeah.
disorder. But there was quite a lot of people, and as I say, because the town was evolving and moving fairly quick, and the people who were more affluent kept moving, which is exactly what's happening today.
Right.
Moving out, it just left behind huge, and the population was quite big,
Right.
because them days, family would be quite common to have a family of 7, 8, just
Yeah.
just as random.
As Dave often says, they didn't have TVs in those days.
No. Well, my grandmother, she was a family of 19,
Right. Yeah.
which I thought was really, really like pushing it. I mean, but that's what they had. But
Right.
then when I looked into it a little bit further, they had them, but a lot of them pretty much died within weeks.
Yeah. You hear a lot of like sort of infant,
Yeah,
infant
yeah.
deaths, don't
It
you?
wasn't
Because
actually
they-
19 that
yeah,
were all alive
yeah,
at
yeah.
one time, and that was quite common
Yeah.
in the East End.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, well, obviously in the slums,
Yeah,
because of
diets,
the
you know,
disease and
poor,
what have you.
poor
Yeah.
sanitation,
Yeah, exactly.
lots of different factors.
Yeah.
But other than that, you know, what it did is it's like, even now when we have adversity, it kind of galvanises and brings people together,
Yeah, bring it
and that's
in,
where
yeah.
we get the tight
community
communities,
spirit,
and people help each other out, and you know.
yeah.
Also, on the other side, we got a very bad reputation for toughness
Right.
and trouble, but that was probably down to the pubs
Right.
and sailors coming. You know, we used to have a lot of foreign sailors
Yeah,
come.
yeah.
You know, in them days, you know, it wasn't like a 18-hour trip. It was
Yeah,
3-4 weeks at sea, maybe it's longer.
Aye.
And then when they come ashore, you know, drunken sailors,
Yeah,
shore,
yeah.
loads of money, and you know, as
Yeah.
drunken people get,
Yeah.
they clash with the locals.
Yeah.
So quickly become like, you know,
Yeah.
classed as a tough area, not to be,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
just frequented.
Yeah.
And once
Well, it's
again,
more just the fact that they were defending their own
yeah,
land.
you know, who you know,
Yeah.
you just come down here and you got money, and there was lots of skullduggery, and I'm quite interested in a lot of like comparisons to crime and stuff
Yeah, yeah.
that is
yeah.
now.
Yeah,
There was a lot more then.
yeah.
There was a lot more murders.
Yeah,
there was a lot more.
I've often said this, as a fan of true crime myself, I've often said this, crime because we have social media and the news, we hear about it a lot more.
Yep.
But in actual fact, as you rightly say, it was rife back in the days, probably way beyond the crime that goes on nowadays.
I've no doubt. I mean, I've no doubt that, you know, sailors, you know, scuffle at sea,
Yeah.
throw them over the side,
Oh, yeah.
and because to jump ship was quite common as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and we didn't have passports.
Yeah.
You know, so it was
Yeah.
pretty much you just, you know, you left, you jumped ship wherever boat you were in.
Yeah.
So people never really questioned where, what, or
Yeah.
whatever happened to these people.
Aye.
And as I say, you had a lot of other very industrious industries
Yeah.
that grew up around, you know, certain pubs had certain reputations for
Yeah.
certain ladies and what have you. But these people were just people.
Yeah.
You know, you know, I remember as a young lad there was quite a lot, you know, that were, you know, prostitutes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And there'll been a hell of a lot more prior to that.
Yeah.
And these things were just facts of life.
Yeah.
And these were the nicest people you ever met.
Yeah. We're
they-
just trying to make ends meet. Yeah.
quite clearly was, you know. I mean, these arguments have gone on length and breadth
Yeah.
of the country and other countries. It is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
It's the oldest profession, if you
Yeah,
like.
well, that's right. Yeah.
So kind of like, if you put all that in the mix, you know, the slums, the poverty,
Yeah.
the hard work.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
you know, work of them days was hard.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Well, that's right. You didn't have the machinery that you have
Yeah,
now.
I mean-
So everything was done by hand, wasn't
yeah,
it? Yeah.
long hours
Yeah.
and the thing, and
No matter how old you were, because I mean, I had kids working in the mills and whatever.
Oh,
in there, so,
yeah, I mean, you know, you just worked, and if
Yeah.
you didn't work there, you were doing something at home, chopping sticks, making a
Yeah.
fire, doing this. You know, there was work to be had. There was no
Yeah.
Xboxes and
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
10 hours on an Xbox. It was not,
yeah.
God
Oh,
almighty.
yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
just general. I think that life in the East End and like I say, other cities,
Yeah.
other sort of working class areas where the industries were tough and you had to work hard just to make ends meet.
Yeah.
People didn't have money.
No,
People-
no.
You know, you couldn't, not like now, if you've got a half decent job, you can
Yeah.
aspire to have a nicer car,
Yeah.
get a better house. You couldn't do that. You were in a trap.
Yeah.
You know, you fed yourself and you had enough to go out for a few beers just to.
Because the guys who ran the business didn't bother, did they? They weren't bothered about you when you're in your slum.
No, not-
You know, but as long as they were making their money, they couldn't care less about you. So, you know,
If you went today, there'd be somebody there tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind of a little bit of a bone of contention at the moment, I suppose, with this 0-hour contract.
Yes.
I don't want you today, I'll have you today.
Yeah.
I remember my dad telling us when they were younger,
Yeah.
and you know, standing at the dock gate,
Yeah.
waiting for work,
When,
and
they
the
would-
charge
they would
hand
pick so many
would
out,
stand up
yeah.
and say, you,
Yeah.
and you know, getting it.
Yeah.
Now,
And then you turn the next gate for the same thing.
yeah, and I kind of think, for the love of us, how I would feel that being dejected.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
3 or 4 kids.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you've got kids sitting in the house and they're waiting to be fed and
Wow.
you go through the gate and then you get turned away
Yeah.
day after day.
Yeah,
You know, because obviously the way it works, it may be weeks before you get anywhere.
yeah.
You know, but they would still be back at the gate and
Yeah.
they'd stay waiting to see.
But then the other side was, and which I've actually witnessed, is a lot of, when I was younger, the pubs. Pubs were headquarters for certain trades.
Right.
Each pub had
Right.
certain groups of people
Right.
that got in. You know, you had riveters got in one pub.
Aye,
You might have platers
Yeah.
and shipwrights in another.
Yeah.
Electricians. So if you
Right.
wanted to start, you would go in and, you know,
Yeah.
how are you doing? Are you doing it? Well, I'm not going to start in the morning.
Aye.
And it was kind of like that. So the pubs themselves were quite integral to life.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
you didn't have your job centres and stuff. That's
Yeah.
where you got to start.
Aye.
You went in, and once again, it was all sort of, heard all the stories of, you know, hi Jack, all right, and they'll give
Yeah.
them a 10 bob note
Yeah.
in a matchbox
Aye.
that was slid to them,
Right.
and you got to start. So the
Right.
charge hand was getting a drop seat
Aye. Yeah.
to get you
To
a
get
start,
your job, aye.
you know, which once again, you know, you can look at it both ways. You say, well, that's really, you know,
Yeah.
thieving out of someone's
yeah, yeah.
pocket. But
But
at the end of the day, that was
Yeah.
life of the times.
yeah.
Um,
That was sort of expected, so it wasn't.
no, it was just, you know, it was what it was. I mean, this pub, when I took it on, it was a single, like, sort of room here.
Right.
And I built the extension, and while I was doing the extension, we unearthed a big ash pit,
Right.
and out of that we got a lot of clear pipes,
Right.
lot of bottles, some, you know, proper sort of like hand-blown glass.
Oh yes. Aye.
None
yeah,
of this
yeah.
compressed stuff.
Yeah.
I've got 2 stone jars which were actually full of liquid, and I haven't been tempted to
Right.
try it or anything.
Yeah.
But what was
Yeah.
interesting, there was a lot of other stuff, like lots and lots of oyster shells,
Right.
which the oysters were the poor person's food.
Right.
That's what poor people
Right.
ate. in
Which
them
is
days.
ironic because now it's classed as
Yeah.
a posh person's food, isn't
That's
it?
right, that's right.
Yeah.
But oysters was a staple diet
Right.
for a lot of like poor people.
Yeah.
It was full of protein, and
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
gather it off the shore.
Right.
We had some nice pots. It was called creamware. We got it dated through the museum,
Yeah.
and it was this pottery came from. We had a pottery along the road. It was called the Garrison Pottery,
Right.
which was quite a well-known sort of factory for producing
Yeah.
like this creamware stuff, which was kind of like your domestic. Everybody had, you know,
Yeah.
you know, these type of plates, cheerful, but
Yeah.
very functional.
Yeah.
So lots of little industries around here, roperies,
Right.
everything was so close. It was, you know, you probably couldn't really have any time when there wasn't a noise or
Right.
somebody working.
Right,
You know, it must
yeah.
have been
Yeah. 24/7.
somebody, 24/7, just
Yeah.
constant. Someone was working somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Which I suppose, when you think about it, it was a necessity.
Yeah.
Now people, you know, would refuse to work. They go, no, I'm not working.
Oh
this
yeah.
time."
Yeah.
And we have that luxury that
Yeah.
we can actually do
I
that.
was going to say now we're in a situation.
Then you didn't. You
you
worked
gotta
or starved.
Yeah.
You know, and then you were at the mercy of your neighbours
Yeah.
and other sort of like folk to
Yeah.
just to help you to get by.
Yeah.
But fortunately, at the time there was such a lot of work, and it was quite sort of manual and
Yeah.
needed a lot of manpower.
Yeah.
So you could actually jump from job to job technically.
Yeah.
Um,
I always remember something that my mother always said was that you could walk out of one job into another.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously now that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you're more or less stuck in the job that you get until, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was the jobs and the jobs were so abundant.
Yeah.
They were so cheap,
Yeah.
and you pretty much were on the same pay. So
Yeah.
it didn't matter.
Ah.
You weren't jump.
Ah,
There was
yeah,
nobody had the
Ah, you
jump
weren't
on you and
getting-
say,
yeah,
oh,
right.
oh, we'll go to there because they pay more.
Yeah.
We're all the same because
Ah.
all the owners
Yeah.
sort of obviously got together and said, we can't afford to lose good workers.
Yeah, yeah.
And we
of
cannot,
course.
so we'll just level,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And they say people just jump from job to job.
Right,
There was the industries that we had down here was unbelievable. Even you know, in my short lifetime,
Yeah.
you know, I remember cabinet works, you know,
Right.
rope works, paint works, where
Yeah.
you know they produced paints. The whole area was a wash of noise and
Yeah.
smells. You know,
Right.
it was you know the railway, coal. It was
Right.
it was crazy. It was crazy
So,
times.
so is the Welcome Tavern the only pub around here, or is there?
It's probably the last. Well, it is the last building on the row
Right.
of where it is. There's the Boar's Head, which is one of the oldest pubs in Sunderland,
Right.
and the next one, the Clarendon, which is probably the oldest one in Sunderland,
Right.
apart from the Shipwrights. But you have to be careful how you say that, because at the time the Shipwrights, which is up North Hilton,
Right.
wasn't in Sunderland.
Right.
So
right. Right.
it's the oldest Sunderland pub,
Yeah.
as we know it.
Yeah. Right.
So it's pretty much, there's very few pubs now
Right.
have survived
Yeah.
the times. You know,
Yeah.
times are changing.
And is the tavern still, or was it originally called the Welcome Tavern, or
Yeah,
is it,
yeah.
So it's still got the
It's
same
still
name
the
from
Welcome
when it was
Tavern.
built?
Yeah.
And is it called the Welcome Tavern because it's on the port, and therefore?
It probably
Is that
it's
right?
probably you know the best
Yeah.
guess you could probably have,
Yeah, yeah,
unless you
yeah.
knew the people who were.
Yeah.
But have a photo of when it was a single story.
Right.
And it shows you, and it's got the Welcome Tavern on.
Right.
And they're all there in the bowler hats and the shirts and the,
Yeah.
the aprons and.
Also, the upstairs wasn't
No,
originally,
no,
so
no.
it was just a single story.
1915, they extended it
Right.
to go.
Is that so? The upstairs is living quarters, I
Yes.
presume. Yeah.
So they mustn't have lived on the quarters
Yeah.
prior to that,
Yeah.
and they just made it like taller. So,
Right.
but yeah, it's when I look at there's only two pictures that I've seen
Yeah.
that shows you two sort of sides of it, and you think, you know, was
Yeah.
it busy in them days? Because
Yeah.
we had steps that came up off the port as well.
Right.
There was a big timber yard like next to it.
Yeah.
That did all the pit props and stuff like that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just work everywhere. You
Right.
know, and
yeah.
people didn't because people didn't save up to go anywhere. Or no, nearly all the money that they had was spent in beer bars. So the beer
Right,
bars
yeah, right.
were, you know, were well, but they needed that. They needed that.
Right. Yeah.
That release.
temporary, Yeah.
You know, if you'd been to work all day,
Yeah.
and we have to think as well, in them days we didn't have any comforts, no home
Yeah.
comforts, no TVs
Yeah.
and,
Yeah. Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You would go home and bare boards,
Yeah.
you know, you might be lucky if you've got the coal on, you
Oh.
might be, you get a bit of oatmeal and you think,
Mm.
well, I'm going to the pub. Because
Yeah,
the pub would have a roaring fire,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody's sitting around,
Yeah, yeah,
bit crack on,
Yeah.
game of dominoes or whatever it was, but big camaraderie, and also, you know, like I said,
Yeah.
you might be out of work and you're thinking, I'll go down there, I'll get a
Oh,
start,
get
I'll see
second,
Jackie,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Jackie will get us a
yeah.
start in the morning.
Yeah.
So it served its purpose
Oh,
massively
yeah,
within
yeah.
the community.
Yeah.
One of my fears is we lose all community pubs
Yeah.
and we just end up with a stack of town centre pubs just
these,
literally
these
to
gin pubs.
just to drink,
Yeah.
and they're not there for the crack on or for
Right, yeah.
for the community spirit.
Yeah.
They're just there just to get drunk.
Yeah. I've noticed that with the workmen's clubs, they're going, you know, they're dying. You know, and it's simply the fact of the youth of today don't want to go into a club.
No.
I mean, I remember when I was 18, that was when you started drinking. You went in the local workmen's club. You know, there was a disco on a Friday night,
Yeah.
whatever. And as you say, you met with your mates and this, that, and the other. But it's as you say, it seems to be a dying thing now. People are just going out to go out rather than.
You'll find that a lot of people go out once a month, or
Yeah.
and you know, and they'll go out and they'll drink probably as much as you drank in a month,
Yeah.
in that one night.
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
it's crackers, you
Oh,
know, and
sorry,
they're
yeah.
missing out so much of,
Yeah.
you know, just people sitting around cracking on, game of darts, game of dominoes, just
Yeah.
sorting their lives out,
Right.
you know. How are you? I haven't been well.
Yeah.
Even, you know, I'll pop round in the morning.
Yeah.
Now we live in such isolation.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know,
yeah.
when I was a young lad down here, I knew pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
I knew
Oh,
I knew where everybody lived. You just say,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they lived up there, and that was for nearly everybody who lived down here.
Yeah.
Knew
Knew
everybody,
each other,
and you
yeah.
couldn't get it. I mean, people say, oh, you can't get away with now because
Yeah.
of CCTV.
But
I
you
said,
can get it now
couldn't
because
go out
everybody
then
knew you,
because
aye.
everybody knew you.
Yeah, I'll
you
tell
know?
your father, I'll tell
Yeah.
you. Aye.
Aye. You know, well that's what it was, and you know, and even like small things now that we see, you know, this thing about neighbours being, you know, antisocial and this
Yeah,
that, and the other.
yeah.
You wouldn't have had that because that would have been sorted out before. It never
Aye.
was never allowed
never,
to
yeah.
fester.
Yeah.
You would come in, you go, oh, you lads, kick the ball and bust the window.
Yeah.
Is he? Right,
Aye.
I'll sort that out.
Aye.
Put it in,
Yeah.
I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
And then he'd come in, you'd get a crack,
Yeah, aye, yeah.
but that would be it. And you put the window in,
Aye.
and you know, everything happy, and
Yeah.
there was no sort of animosity,
Aye.
but you knew people right up the street. And you know, now you talk to people on these new estates, you go, I kind of know my neighbour,
Yeah.
and I know that one,
Aye, yeah.
but I don't know anybody that
I want
lives.
to be wrong. When you're saying that, I don't, and it's not that I avoid,
Yeah,
because I don't, but I don't speak to my next door neighbour and they don't speak to me. But it's not the fact of I avoid them or they avoid me. It's just the way life is, you
Yeah.
know. We don't know each other, so we just, you know,
Yeah.
pass in the street and don't even say hello, you know.
see, well,
Maybe smile at each other as we pass,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
yeah, a little bit of nicety. But when I was growing up in the Garths and stuff like that, we all sat out, and a summer night, everybody, you'd come out and sit in the veranda, and you knew everybody, aye, and
Yeah.
you know, shouting house things, and,
Yeah.
and everybody. But as much as it was like a bit of busybody, you knew about people. You knew people who were in trouble. You knew people who were just struggling a bit cash.
Yeah.
People who just needed that little bit of support,
Yeah.
and that's your community.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's
definitely,
what I have a big fear of losing.
Yeah.
It's a big shame.
Oh,
You know,
okay, it is,
and
yeah.
the government should be tapping into this and using this as a
Yeah.
tool. You know,
Yeah.
these elections and that, going knocking on single doors.
Yeah.
Well, if you had the pubs open and
Yeah,
beer was
yeah,
cheap and
yeah.
all that, just come in
I
and sit in the
invite
pub.
them,
You've got
say, you know, like sort of your local MP is going to be in the Welcome Tavern
Yeah.
on Thursday evening, pop yourself round,
That's right.
you know, yeah.
and that's how well. I mean, we actually did 3 Thursdays ago. I'm a chairman of the board club,
Right?
and we've got our MP, and she's going to need our help. She's a Labour MP, and they're really struggling at the moment.
Yeah. But especially in this
Sunderland,
sort of area, yeah.
you know, because they voted
Yeah.
to remain,
Yeah.
and most people voted to leave, so they've been branded
Yeah.
traitors
Oh,
and all
yeah,
that sort of malarkey. So Sister Julia says, I've got an ideal opportunity, come down and meet the guys. The guys were less than pleased.
Yeah, yeah, of course it would be.
They were like, oh, I says, no, listen, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's her point of view.
yeah, here are out.
I says, she might think the same about you. So at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you voted to like sort of leave,
Yeah, yeah.
she voted to stay. It's just
Yeah.
a point of view.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, she's our
Yeah.
MP.
Aye,
She
yeah.
speaks at the House of
She
Commons.
speaks for you. But,
Yeah, she's standing up and speaking to the country
Yeah,
for us.
yeah.
So let's
If
have a
you-
bit
if
of
you
courtesy,
understand what
bring
you're
her
trying to
along,
say, yeah.
and let her see what we're about.
Yeah.
And it worked because she
Right.
came. She was well pleased.
Yeah.
Well pleased. It went back to the leader of the council. It went back to the deputy leader.
Right.
And they got straight back onto me and said, "Fantastic." She was over the moon.
Right.
Didn't realise there was groups like that about.
Yeah.
I says, "And there's your problem."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
not-
you
not-
need to re-engage with the real people.
Yeah.
You know, not the people that just knock on the door and they just, oh yeah, promises. Just people where they
Right.
come along and let's have a big crack on.
Yeah.
You know, sit in the bar. Let's have a game of bingo with them. You know, be with them. See.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you can only get that in
Yeah, yeah,
in your communal
group
pubs.
yeah.
Because other than that, you have nothing.
Yeah.
And as I say, if you want people to live in isolation, we are going down the right path.
Yeah.
You know, it's happening all. You know, you don't even have to go out shopping now. You can just get online and it's
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
you know, there's very little you really.
Yeah, well, that's right, yeah.
You know,
in
you
fact, I prefer to be shopping online because I don't spend as much.
Yeah, and you know, if you're fortunate enough that you can work from home, if you're doing IT, you could work from home for a month and not go out.
Yeah.
You know, so there you go.
What's the matter, Dave? You're looking at me like sort of.
I've just got a cold spot right next to us here.
Oh, right. I thought you're looking at me quite strange. I didn't know
No,
what the problem was there.
I'm with a microphone.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You were looking at me and I didn't understand.
No,
what you were
sorry.
saying.
I think they might be able to hear us. But,
Well, I can hear you, so if I can hear you, then it should get picked up. But yeah, you are pretty quiet in the background there, which is probably the best place for you.
thank you.
So what made you buy the pub then? What made you take over the pub? Was it the community spirit, or was it just the fact of you fancied owning a pub one day?
Well,
Or are you from that background? Did your parents?
no. Funny enough, when I left school, I went. All my family were tugboat people.
Right.
We worked the river, the port and stuff like that. So we were all tugboat people. But I've always been a very social person. Always got out and when I went to finish work, going for a drink and then sort of like the early 80s, 84, 85, when we lost the shipyards and the pits.
Yeah.
And consequently, we lost the coal exports.
Yeah.
The tugs quickly went the same way, so we were all laid off. And having worked from leaving school, I was thinking, well, what am I going to do? And I thought, oh, well, I'll have a few months off and, go on older and all the things that we do. And my friend had a pub in the town centre, and he says, do you fancy coming working for us, I thought, well, I'm always on the other side,
Yeah.
He says, no, he says, that's what we want, because you're a bit of a life and soul, so we'll, So started to work for them. I worked 5 years for them, and my wages weren't that good. And I just says, oh look, I says I need like a pay rise, and we weren't going to do it. And I thought, oh well, I can't be stuck in this. I'm not getting me. I know what I'm doing. I'm worth more than this.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was playing football for Rolls Royce, and we had a guy who played in goal for us. A guy called Tony Clark. He was one of the top reps guys at Vaux at the time.
Oh, right, yeah.
And we would go. I remember we got to the team. We got to Cockfield. It was freezing cold. And I said to him, I said, I want a pub. And he went, right, okay. And he had the power to pretty much get you a pub.
Yeah.
I said, I want a pub. He says, what do you want? I says, I want the Welcome Tavern.
Right.
He says, you what? He says, no, I'll get you a proper pub. A pub that's doing well. I says, yeah. But
so did you not have a very good reputation before you took over?
It was just a little, tiny little pub. It was nothing like what you see now. It was just so sparse.
Right.
It had been neglected for forever.
Yeah. So was it open?
It was open,
running, but just not looked after.
Yeah. And obviously, coming off the back of the shipyards and stuff like that and pits, the trade had dropped dramatically. Right. But I always thought about it as like it's something I could do with. I can do something with that. It's got land right round it. Yeah. It is something.
You could see your potential in it.
Yeah. And I just thought I wanted, and he went, well, ever think about it? And then the week after, he went, have you thought about it? I says, I wanted. He said, right, go to concert, see this district manager, and pretty much the pub is yours. Right. And I didn't know at the time that the tenants were coming out.
Right.
I just.
Yeah, you just.
It was literally.
Yeah, that's the pub you wanted.
I can't even explain how it came about. It was just in my mind. Yeah. And I want the pub. I'm born and bred in the East End, so I knew everybody.
Oh, so you're from here anyway?
Oh yes, yes. And I used to drink in here, not a great deal. Because obviously, I wanted to be up the town with all my mates and stuff like that. But I would often come over, have a couple of pints and knew people. But I had no inkling whatsoever that the landlord and landlady were actually coming out.
Yeah. So
we kind of got it on, and we did exchange contracts. And I thought, right, we need to develop it, and I kind of pushed all the time. Right. And I'm kind of like, I want to speak to the organ grinder, not the monkey. I know we should always sometimes go through the chain of command, but sometimes it's just so much red tape. And I used to go up to the offices in Vaux, and I used to go straight up the stairs, straight to Frank Nicholson. Frank, I think if you do this pub will do X, Y, and Z and all that. And it would come down, and then below him would say, you should come to us first. I went, because it would never get done. Because you haven't got the bottle to go up there and speak to him. And funny enough, I spoke to them because they've just done a DVD, Passion for Vaux.
Right.
Because it's 20 years since Vaux closed down.
Right.
It's quite an interesting take on
Yeah.
what happened and the events.
Yeah.
And we went up to the premiere, and Frank Nicholson was there, and we walked in, he went, Jeff Moon. And he still got the welcome, and he remembered us after 20 years. I've never seen him in 20 years. And he remembered us and asked about me kids and stuff.
Right.
Because he was very, very hands-on with the pubs.
Yeah.
But as I say, I took it on as a tenant. And tenants were very, very, like, hard done by the cost of the beer was so great. And I thought, this kind of, we can't manage this. We're losing money. We can't.
It's still the same though, isn't it? In the pub trade.
Oh yeah.
Tenants still get.
Tenants, you have to buy their beer.
Raw part of the deal.
So I had little bits of work to be done, and they wouldn't do it. But in the contract, that was their contractual obligation. So I thought, well, I'm just not paying you rent.
Right.
And I'll buy me beer from elsewhere. And the district managers would come down and they would say, you can't do that, it's illegal. I says, yeah, it is. I says, you're totally right. I says, because it's in the contract, isn't it? I said, yeah. I said, but you broke the contract because you wouldn't do the work. You broke the contract first.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have it. But I'd gathered a lot of stuff.
Right.
And I said, look, I have the keys, but you need to pay me for all the fixtures and fittings. Well, little did I know, and nobody else knew, obviously, that was a year before the
So they were
demise.
struggling, yeah.
So Vaux, somewhere along the line, must have said, look, no more investment, no more this, no more that.
Yeah.
We're not investing anymore.
Yeah.
So the powers that be was the things were getting set in motion.
Yeah.
So I just said, I won't buy the pub off you. And they went, right, okay.
Right.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Go up and see this guy. And he went, yeah. And this guy who worked for the property side of it, he said, they're pulling pubs down at a rate of knots. He says, he says, we've got pubs all over the north. He says, and some of the pubs, we're literally closing the doors and the bulldozers going in the next day because we can't afford the rates. And
Right.
obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
I didn't understand, but I do now.
Yeah.
The end was coming. So, let's see, I ended up buying it. I put an extension on, and
So did obviously we don't want to know figures, but did you get it at a reduced figure?
greatly reduced. But as I said to them, I'd put the work into it prior to that. And at the end of the day, they didn't really have a leg to stand on. They would have either buy me out, which obviously I found out they weren't in the position to do that.
They couldn't afford to do that. Yeah.
So they just
it was easier for them to get rid of it.
Yeah. And we've kind of from then we've kind of done well.
Right.
Peaks and troughs like everywhere else.
Yeah.
And we don't open during the week now, so we kind of try to
Right.
target the audience, if you like.
Right.
But
And then does that affect? It will sort of affect the trade because you're not getting everybody in every single night. But then again, the savings on wages, etc. Do they like sort of outweigh each other?
yes. And what you've got people who may come out 2 and 3 nights a week and then miss a Saturday night.
Yeah.
They'll just come out a Saturday night. So
Yeah.
so whatever money they've got, I get. But I get it
all
under the same roof, under the same light, under the same heating, and under the same staff,
Yeah.
as opposed to stretch out.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the problems with when they deregularised the
Yeah.
hours, that bars are open 3-4 hours before people decide to go out for a drink.
Right.
Where the old days, 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
there was a queue waiting because
Yeah,
you only had the 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
I know as a taxi driver myself, I drive around and as you say, sometimes through the week, you can work a Tuesday night and you pull up outside of a pub and there's you're waiting for your fare and your fare turns out to be the barmaid and she's going home because there's no work, there's nobody in drinking, and that's like sort of 9 o'clock at night and they've had to close up early because there's been nobody in.
And so, why bother in the first place? Just, target your audience and open as and when.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm in a better position because I own the pub and I've kind of paid the mortgage off. So, if I was to shut tomorrow, it's it
would just become your house.
Yeah. Big house, like, but we've got 7 bedrooms.
Right.
You know, but it's a
So do you let the bedrooms out, or
no.
it's all private?
Fill them with all my
Right.
rubbish. I'm a collector,
Yeah.
a hoarder, as you
Yeah,
might have just gathered.
I know the feeling because I'm exactly the same. I never throw nothing away.
But if you like, me reasoning for buying it, or me psyche to buy it in that time was like, I didn't realise I wanted the pub
Yeah.
for any reason. I just thought something drove us to
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
But I look at it now and I just think, where could you get a building of this size now,
Yeah.
where every morning I see the sunrise,
Yeah.
sun, you know, right round. I can
Right.
I can see South of Point. I can see right down to Seaton Carew.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
for the rest of my life, if I need to go to the
Yeah.
town centre, it's walking distance.
Yeah.
If I need to go to the match, it's walking distance.
Aye.
If I want to go to Seaburn and the beaches,
Yeah.
it's walking distance.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite accessible to everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Like living
yeah.
down here.
Yeah.
It just hasn't gotten the shackles off of the stigma of the East End,
Right.
if you
right.
like. And
Yeah.
I'm the biggest advocate of
Yeah.
fighting for the corner.
Yeah.
The people agree, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But it really struggles
Right.
to get rid of the
Yeah.
stigma of its past.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because we have a lot of people who come down, and I don't know if I dislike them or whether I'm not keen on them. It's
Right.
when they'll come down and go, oh well, I'm from the East End, and I'll say, well when?
Yeah.
Well, my grandmother lived down here, so
Yeah.
like my roots are from
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
And I sit and they've gone, oh fantastic place. I says, and I'll just sit there, so are you thinking about moving down here? Oh no, I wouldn't move down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah,
really?
but that's fantastic. Why aren't you
Yeah,
moving there?
yeah. And it is, if you think about logistically, where it is, right at the seafront, and God, you couldn't think of no better, but
Yeah.
it's the very fact that it's called the East End,
Ah, yeah.
still,
I think
Was it?
I think the East End anyway, because I mean obviously you've got the East End of London,
Yeah.
which is made famous by the TV show,
Yeah.
and it's a rough place, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think as soon as you mention the East End,
Yeah.
people instantly have this image of the East End of wherever it is, no
Yeah.
matter where it is a rough place. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely right.
I mean, East End, Glasgow, East End,
Yeah, exactly.
like Cardiff, the docks, the dock areas,
Yeah.
but it was because the men were tough, they were tough jobs,
Yeah.
and there were no nonsense people,
Aye.
you pretty much had the same with the pit villages. The pit
Yeah, I was going
villages
to say I'm from
were,
a pit village,
were known.
and we have the same
They were very,
reputation. Yeah.
very. Not saying they were all good fighters and things like that, but
Yeah.
they were very strong,
Yeah.
strong-willed, moral
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
and they'd rather take a beating outside than
Yeah.
But it would be like, well,
Yeah.
sort it out outside.
Yeah, go outside, bit of
Come back
50
in
bucks back in,
and you have a
have a
pint.
pint with each
But
other.
it was
yeah.
toughness,
Yeah.
and I think that's what the type of thing that,
Yeah.
and it's not always the best thing, but when you look at it in general, we really haven't had that much bother down here.
Yeah.
It's just, it was because it was slums. Oh, we've moved from there.
Yeah.
It was slums, and in 30, 40 years, where you're living now,
Yeah.
it'll be the same.
Yeah.
It'll move.
Yeah, yeah, of
The
course,
houses
yeah.
you live in
Yeah.
now are going to be I remember when I was left at school, and people were like living in the barns and
Yeah.
Ashbrook, and it was like, oh, they must be
Yeah,
posh.
yeah, and now
You know,
it's,
now it's
yeah.
it's not.
now it's the same as any other
Yeah.
state, yeah.
Because we're moving out and
Yeah.
we're building new estates, and
Yeah.
and now the starting to actually run out of areas to move out to.
Yeah.
So there's they're actually bulldozing a lot of
Yeah.
Ford Estate, Pennywell, like Southwick. They're trying to reinvent the housing
Yeah,
for the 21st century
yeah,
type
yeah.
of thing.
yeah,
So I don't know what lies in store for the East End.
yeah,
And I know that there's lots of plans to rejuvenate it for
yeah.
the historical value.
Oh
of
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. I think the key is the river.
Yeah.
And the river's the big key for
Yeah.
if
But I mean, Sunderland is that sort of area, isn't it? And it's built on the river, so therefore, a lot of its trade, as you said earlier,
Yeah.
comes from the port and from the river, etc.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the
therefore-
port isn't doing as well as what used to, because
Yeah,
we haven't
yeah.
got the
Yeah,
imports
yeah,
exports,
yeah,
and even them, they've changed.
Yeah.
Most of the imports and exports now come in containers. Well,
Yeah.
we are not geared up, and our
Aye.
port's not big enough.
Yeah.
So your Felixstowe, big docks, they bring all that sort of
Yeah.
cargo in. Sunderland now, I think, should be really turning towards a more leisurely
Yeah.
sort of pursuits with the port, and
Right.
making a big marina, a big sport, like water sports area.
Right, yeah.
Got a huge sort of open area of water that,
Yeah.
that, you know, it's
Right.
not directly to
Right,
the sea,
yeah.
could be used for all sorts.
Yeah.
I think that's where really it should be,
Yeah.
and I think it could work if you split it with the little quays that we have in
Yeah.
Greenwells, and still retain some sort of
Yeah.
import export.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it that we have to diversify and change
Yeah.
it, because I don't think like modern day sort of haulage
Yeah,
is the key.
Yeah.
But I honestly do believe that the catalyst for rejuvenation is your river and your port.
Yeah.
I think we have to make it that people want to come to Sunderland because it has that.
Yeah.
You know, we have a fairly decent Seaburn and Roper beaches
Right,
and
yeah.
what have you. But they're kind of developing along there, they're building houses along there,
Right.
which makes it private,
Yeah.
as opposed to a seafront that we went.
Yeah.
But we've got an area sort of to the south, where Hendon Beach was.
Yeah.
Most people in Sunderland don't even know it exists.
I mean, I remember as a child coming to the likes of Seaburn and whatever, and then as I grew up, I mean, I took my kids there, and there was nothing there compared
Yep.
to what was there when I was there.
That's
When
right.
I was a child.
It just sort of the people who wanted to live there, who wanted to move from your slum areas,
Yeah. Aye.
you know, wanted better houses and
Yeah.
live in posher streets. You know, even though they're the same people that come down now and go, oh, my grandparents are from the
Yeah,
East End,
yeah.
and it's, you know,
Yeah.
lovely people. Really,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of reservation with these people, but as I say, we have the south of like the Weir,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
absolutely totally neglected. And if you look, you go like 8 miles down the road, you've got Seaham, that they've kind of realised that, hey, dirty little coal
Yeah,
town,
yeah.
you know, they've tidied it up,
Yeah.
and it's thriving.
Yeah, I
You
was
go
going to
down
say,
there.
Seaham used to have a really bad reputation at one time.
Oh,
didn't it?
Seaham,
Yeah.
without a shadow of a doubt. And even the people from Seaham would tell you exactly the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you look at it now,
Yeah.
you go along there and have festivals on all along the front, all
Wow.
new businesses.
Yeah.
People want to visit. You know, they've done something dead simple, but put a statue to a British soldier.
Yeah. Tommy, it's
You know,
yeah,
that one thing
yeah,
is brought
yeah.
thousands to
Oh,
there.
it does, yeah.
Very clever.
Yeah, definitely.
But we did that with the Angel of the North. The Angel of the North was
Yeah.
never going to work.
Yeah,
Absolute
oh,
rubbish.
yeah, everybody here,
You
the
know,
Angel of the North
because
was the first one up there.
now it's probably one of the most
Yeah.
iconic sort of sculptures for the UK,
Yeah.
not just for the North East.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So, you know, things do change, but I think we've got to have some real sort of blue sky thinking from
Yeah.
our councillors
Yeah.
and planners, and look at stuff, and because I don't think the trade that they're trying to get on the port will generate enough income as in work.
Right.
It's no good having storage areas where you've got like a port that's 25 acres, there's got maybe 30 people working.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. That's a waste of
Yeah.
space. You know,
Yeah.
if it was sort of leisure and stuff like that,
Yeah.
you could have maybe hundreds
Yeah.
working down there.
And as you say, something like this pub, getting the community in here and talking about stuff like that, you know,
Yeah.
get the councillors in here and have them talk.
We quite often do, but the kind of the same as though they're all directed by officers who say, oh, we've got to have industry, we must have a... Yeah, it's fine, and I'm all for like being put out if the industry employs, you know, 50, 60, 100 people on the
Yeah.
port. But what they're talking about, the next two developments that's going to be on there are going to be silos. There's going to be 12 silos.
Right.
4 of them are going to be for tallow,
Yeah.
which is animal fat. Now, the smell and how they're going to get the animal products down through the city centre, etc., horrendous. And the other 8 that's just been announced is for liquid fertilisers.
Right.
Nitrogens, phosphagens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, if you read about them, you know, if they get in the water table, they'll kill everything.
Yeah.
And they're also harmful to man. So
Right.
why are we bringing these?
Aye.
Because Sunderland's port is surrounded by housing.
Yeah.
You can't get,
Right,
you know,
yeah, you can't get
so-
the big containers in.
yeah, so it's crazy. So
Yeah.
let's look at a different
Yeah.
thing, a different outlet. And I think the leisure side of it is the big thing, because
Yeah.
everybody wants to come to the seaside, and if they want to build houses on the Seaburn, fine.
Yeah.
You know, be along there. I think it's preordained that they've done that. Let's develop the port. The port wasn't there. The port was man-made.
Yeah.
So what we need is that sort of Victorian sort of attitude, the can-do.
Yeah.
There's nothing that cannot be done.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll do that.
And as the city was originally built on the port,
Yeah.
then, you know, and because of the port, it grew and grew. Why not, you know, rely on the port and do
Yeah.
something with it?
Let's look at it on a different slant. You know, originally the Hendon Promenade was meant to connect to Seaham,
Yeah,
and which protects, because our cliffs all the way along here are all clay and sand,
Right.
so we've got massive amount of erosion, and that was the original plan, but they obviously, like everything else, run out of budget, and it was to attach the All Beach at Seaham all the way along, so we had
Right.
one continuous promenade up to Seaham. Now that would be a great project. It's money, it's infrastructure,
yeah,
but it protects your cliffs. That's your East Coast main line that's
Yeah, yeah,
running along,
yeah.
so it protects all that. Plus, you know, you've got your port. You could bring a lot of sporty things going on.
yeah,
You know, build an outcrop, backfill it with sand, make it your resort.
yeah,
Instead of having your resort, because you know we've lost the paper mills. The paper mills have gone. That's going to
Yeah.
be housing. So nice housing, great. You know, let's build a resort
Yeah.
on the port.
Yeah.
Let's make it somewhere where people make it a destination.
yeah.
Let's come down. Let's
And then once people start to arrive, then the jobs will grow because obviously the people that arrive and
Yeah.
need to be supplied with whatever, whether it be fish and chips or anything. You know,
it's exactly where it is. It's we have to shift the pardon the pun, the shifting sands from
Yeah.
Seaburn across and move it,
Yeah.
because if we don't, what they're trying to do there will end up absolutely killing
Right.
Sunderland. It
Yeah.
will kill it.
Yeah.
You know, people, they've spent a fortune, millions on the seafront over there, and I said, so you've got to put a tallow plant and you're going to have some fertiliser plant.
Yeah.
I said, the smell, really?
yeah,
So I says, as the crow flies, I says, the 50-yard piece of water, they'll all get the smell.
yeah.
People are not coming to Sunderland to be stinky Sunderland,
yeah.
you know.
Right.
But as I say, they've been driven by other forces saying that this is what we need investment, we need to bring jobs, and they think that putting storage silos on the port is a way. Well, to me, that's not
Yeah.
anywhere, because if it's storage, you'll need 2 or 3 people to man them.
Yeah.
You know, man the pumps, man the gauges,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
very
so
low.
It's not going to grow the.
No, no.
Yeah.
I think it's very narrow-sighted
Yeah.
by our councillors and our planners. I think it's grasping at straws
Yeah.
for what we need. I think that the city needs. It's quite clear. It's not just down in the port and stuff like that. It's the town centre.
Yeah.
The town centre is imploding
Right.
at a rate of knots.
Right.
You know, charity shops, food outlets, and there's nothing else.
Right.
You know, people don't shop in Sunderland anymore.
No.
People we've put the metro there, we jump on the metro, we're going to the metro
Right,
centre, we're
right.
going to Newcastle,
Right, yeah.
you know.
Which is a shame because I mean Sunderland's quite a large area, isn't it? So
Sunderland's massive, you know, if you look at the geographical area of Sunderland now, it's huge.
yeah.
You know, it's not like when we were kids, where when just to the border of the A19, it's
Yeah.
massive.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the Rating and stuff like that.
Yeah, aye.
It's all classed as Sunderland now.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Horton, Hetton,
Yeah.
you know,
aye, yeah.
it's
Aye,
fairly.
it covers some area.
Aye. But then people don't come into Sunderland because there's nothing there.
Aye, yeah, there's
You know?
nothing to bring them in.
So
And,
unless there's you know, a real catastrophic, massive change,
Yeah.
and we know we're struggling because we haven't got the money
Yeah.
to do this change, but it
Yeah.
needs something, and you need jobs. You need to
Yeah.
bring in jobs that are going to give people an income that they can spend in the retail shops that they want to build.
Yeah.
They think it's just, well, we'll build more retail. Well, people have
Yeah.
to earn
Yeah,
money
you got to have
to
it.
be able to spend it,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just an ongoing
Yeah.
saga with Sunderland at the
Oh
moment.
yeah, definitely.
But I think they've got this idea that this road, this magical road that's coming from the A19, and now a new bridge, and then
Oh yeah.
down
aye.
St Mary's, and once it hits the port,
Yeah.
then there's going to be, you know,
Oh yeah, it's going to influence.
and it's
everybody,
crazy
yeah.
because, you know, the road goes through the city centre,
Yeah.
and the cargoes, which is what they want to do on there,
Yeah.
and not the best cargoes to be travelling through
Right, so,
pedestrians and
yeah.
stuff like that.
It is quite a good, difficult area to drive through Sunderland with the lights and the roundabouts.
It's
And,
horrendous.
excuse me. Yeah.
I mean, anybody that comes to Sunderland and they come down St Mary's Way, and when they hit that roundabout thing, and then
Yeah.
you go, well, I call it the Ted Rogers Road because it's like 3, 2, 1.
Yeah,
It goes from
yeah,
3 lanes to
yeah.
2 to 1,
Yeah.
you know, and you're thinking, these are like 40-ton wagons.
Aye.
You know, how are they going to get down here?
Yeah.
It's
It's
just
just not going to work, is it?
no, it's not. And all it would take is, you know, your match days, a shunt where the traffic's stopped, and you've got these trucks that are carrying God knows what stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a disaster waiting to happen. And I just think they really need to look at it and look at the past of what we did. We cleared the slums, we got rid of all the rubbish, the
Yeah.
crap, if you like, and we built new houses, new estates, and they were great.
Yeah.
You know, all the Ford Estate, Pennywell, Downhill, you know, Plains Farm, all great estates,
Yeah, yeah,
fantastic houses. People would, you know, front and back garden,
Right.
and it was an amazing thing. And then, you know, we had that for a while, and then still we had the coal. Then we got
Yeah.
rid of coal,
Yeah.
and people, oh, I like a coal fire. Well, yeah, we do, but at the end of the day, how many people walk about and have scruffy collars now? Very few.
Oh, yeah.
When we were, every time you
Yeah,
go,
yeah, yeah.
because it was in the air, but
Yeah.
you were breathing that in, and that made people poorly.
Yeah.
You know, so these were major step forwards,
Yeah.
I think, anyhow. You know, building new houses, getting
Yeah.
people out of the slums, and we've got to look at that. Within the port, what they're doing there, it seems as though they're bringing all bad cargoes, bad
Yeah.
things back, and it should be like really forward thinking. People who live in the countryside didn't want to look at trees all the time now. They want to be
Yeah.
down at the river, down at the seaside.
Yeah.
Seaside's the place to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the investment. We see it at Scarborough, we see it at Whitby.
Yeah, I was going to say every bank holiday and whatever, if it's sunny, that they start off. I mean, Crimlin Dean, a place I used to go to as
Yeah.
a child, it's revamped itself, and it's stowed off when when
Because
the sun's
people love, there's something about the sea and the
Yeah.
seaside is very alluring. People
Yeah.
love it, and it doesn't care what you've got, whether you're coming down and looking at industry within the
Yeah.
sea, ships moving.
Yeah.
People are fascinated by
Oh
it.
yeah, definitely.
We're not going to get that anymore because
Yeah.
you know it's just the way things
Yeah.
are. Like I say, the cargoes that we get in the UK now all come in containers. It's
Yeah.
easier, you know, move them about quicker and
Yeah.
you know safer.
Yeah.
So that's the way forward.
Yeah.
And our port isn't big enough to handle anything like that.
Yeah.
So they should be looking at a totally different use. Bring people in, people who want to come to the seaside, change it. Seaburn's going. You know, it's
Yeah,
going to be.
yeah.
You're not be at the park, so to
Ah,
get there
yeah,
you'd have to
yeah,
get
yeah.
people going. Oh, I'm not going over there.
Ah, yeah.
Let's change it. Let's move it south. Let's have something
Yeah.
on the south side of the river, under Sunderland. You know, use the historical side of it as a catalyst
Yeah.
to bring into the port,
Yeah.
and then go from there. I think
So
that's,
will that I mean, I know you say you don't open all the time, but would that change your opinion, or not opinion, but the way you run the pub?
oh,
Would
without
you then,
without a shadow of a doubt. I
would you
mean,
then open all
you know,
the time?
technically all you need is 10 people every night.
Right.
10 people every night who have like 5-6 pints.
Yeah.
You would open every night.
Right.
If
Right.
you get 10 people standing at the bar,
Right.
having a big crack one, I'd open every night.
Right.
But we haven't got that anymore.
Yeah.
We're quite an aged community down here. People have
Right.
lived here for so long, and like I say, the kids up and away. They work at Nissan. You're not
Yeah.
going to buy a house down the East End to travel to Nissan.
Ah, yeah.
You'll buy a house at Teal Farm or somewhere,
Yeah, yeah,
Town End
yeah.
Farm,
Somewhere
where
nearby,
it's a
yeah.
short jaunt.
Yeah.
Because you do that every day.
Yeah.
The thing, oh well, I do that every day, so it's just a short jaunt to Nissan.
Right.
If I come into the town, I might do it once a month.
Right.
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
So that's why people move. You know, we all, you know, all the shipyards had houses where people lived.
Yeah.
All the pits built houses
Yeah.
where the pit was. They wanted you to be there,
Yeah.
and it was easy for you to get there. You couldn't say, oh, I missed the bus. They live across the road.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was the mentality
Yeah.
of the ship owners and stuff like that. Was
You lived there, so
yeah,
therefore you had no
people who lived at Pallion and Millfield all worked at Doxies and Lanes.
Right.
The people who lived down the East End worked at Greenwells or Bartram's.
Right.
You worked where you
Aye, wherever it is.
you know,
Yeah.
because it was, you know, we didn't have cars then, so
Right.
people just walked.
Yeah.
I know it's more accessible, but now we've got to look at actually using cars,
Yeah.
you know, and public transport. So if you sit from here to Nissan, it's about a 20-minute drive,
Mm.
you know, and,
Yeah.
and we all know what the A19's like, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's an accident. So it's quite a commute. So if,
Yeah.
if you're doing that every day and you think, oh, you know what it is, I'm going to move up town and farm,
Right.
and it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It saves you on your car, saves on all this.
Whereas
So-
if you had some trade round here, then
Yeah.
they would.
But we just
Yeah,
haven't got that.
yeah.
And as I said, what they're trying to bring into the port will employ 4 or 5 people, absolute max.
Yeah. Aye.
And to be fair, most people who work now don't drink because you
Yeah.
can't. You
No.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's the you know it's forbidden now to have any alcohol with a 0 tolerance.
Yeah.
But what you need really for the pubs is more people moving back into Sunderland instead
Yeah.
of moving out, because
Yeah.
we're losing all our professional and semi-professional people. They're moving into the nicer estates.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You need to get them people back who have that disposable income to rejuvenate your pubs, or bring in sort of like leisure areas where people will come into Sunderland or down the East End and going, you know, I'm going to have a pint.
Yeah.
I'm going to see that. I mean, it proved it when we had the tall ships. A lot of people coming down to see the tall ships, and were sitting outside, I'll have a pint.
Yeah. Aye.
And that was nice, and it was nice for them to come, you know, and go, oh yeah, it's lovely sitting outside here. I can sit out, I can still see the sea if you like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there is that element that,
Yeah.
that would benefit myself,
Yeah.
but the other side of it will not benefit us.
Yeah.
It will congest our roads,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm quite confused with Sunderland. You know, we've just built this all singing, all dancing, you know, state of the art, first in the UK charging station,
Yeah.
and it's on the main route into the port, which is going to double the traffic. So the carbon footprint is totally wiped
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Aye.
You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, do they want to have a 0 carbon footprint? You know, let's all recycle. Let's all do this. We'll have once a month bin collections. It saves on all this carbon,
Yeah.
and yet we're
Yeah. You're building it, aren't you? Putting it all in one spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did the militia move out of here when the ports died, or were they?
no.
moved to,
It was kind of like when we, you know, the sort of like the hostility sort of decreased in France.
Right.
It was all about then, you know.
Right,
It was all about the Napoleonic
Oh,
Wars.
so they were just here temporary sort of thing, just.
No,
just
they were
to
here for
protect
quite
the
a lot. I
port.
mean, they were here from early 1700s.
Yeah.
Right
just
away
like
through.
the threat from the French was here.
Yes.
That bit, yeah.
And it's obviously
Right.
the,
So
you
it wasn't a permanent barracks. It was like a military barracks. So it was like tented areas rather than an actual.
no,
Oh,
it was
right,
all
right.
stone. It was
Right.
all stone. Had a hospital and everything.
Ah, right.
No, it was quite an extensive.
Right.
Because you think your ports were quite integral at the time. We were doing a lot of pots and
Yeah.
stoneware,
Yeah.
lime, which was a
Yeah.
big commodity. We had a lot of lime kilns in Sunderland,
Right.
all up the river.
Yeah.
So there was lots of stuff coming from
Right.
here, and coal, but obviously coal not
Yeah.
at the time wasn't as you know
Yeah,
needed,
yeah.
because we hadn't quite like
Yeah.
put our foot on the pedal of the
Ah,
Industrial
yeah, yeah,
Revolution.
yeah.
You know, but once that started to get there, you know, we needed the land and that, and we obviously our armies were more technically, so we didn't have to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, what you were was a militia, was just a group of guys
Yeah.
who were just based
Ah,
out
they
like
were just like locals, weren't they? With
Yeah,
with
it was a
couple of
gang.
weapons or whatever. Yeah.
a gang, if you like,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't suppose they would have frightened anybody.
Yeah.
But,
well, the
um,
fact that they were there would be enough. It's
Yeah.
a deterrent, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you know something's there,
Uh-huh.
then you stay away rather than, you know, that sort of.
Yeah.
If there's nothing, if you know there's nothing there, then
Yeah.
you're more likely to attack that place.
Yeah.
But if you know there's something
So
there.
they were based out in the sort of mid 1800s, and then
Did they see any action? Was there any?
the only
trouble?
time that there was any action that was, and it was reported, was there was the Battle of Flamborough Head when John Paul Jones,
Right.
the American
Yeah.
French sympathiser,
Yeah.
there was a big battle off Flamborough Head, and
Right.
obviously the sort of disabled his ship a little bit,
Right.
so he came quite close into the coast.
Right.
He was heading back up to Scotland and round Ireland.
yeah.
So that was like, they got on alert, but I don't think they
Yeah.
actually sort of fired in anger. I think
Yeah.
the most damage we had pretty much was during the war,
Right.
which the port was heavily targeted, obviously because of the coal. At
Right,
the time we were
yeah.
producing coal by the
Yeah.
millions of
Right.
tons, and shipbuilding and ship repair.
Yeah.
So in Germany, obviously had us targeted as
Yeah.
you know, the way of shipbuilding.
Yeah.
So it was quite extensively bombed. I mean, there was a pub just along the road. Was a family lived in it, and they had a direct hit and killed
Right.
the whole family, the Thompsons.
Right. Yeah.
So you know, there's lots of things happened over the centuries. But
Yeah.
the militia, that was quite a localised thing, and then I say
Yeah.
it was in its day it was probably more just about the East End.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
Just with the paranormal side of it, you know, just to like sort of see if there was anything that actually caused, because normally, you know, like sort of wars, battles, etc.
Yeah.
Like that, you know, the battlefields themselves tend to be, you know, obviously have a lot of lost souls and whatever.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if that.
I think with here, I think it's more of, you know, people who and what the activity that we've seen is people who are either attached or, you know, live down here and
Right.
you know, just.
So what sort of
long.
experiences? Because I know we spoke to Anita earlier on about experiences. What sort of experiences have you had? Because you've obviously been here
Oh.
for a long time.
Oh, numerous. We've seen lots of shadows. I say shadows because I cannot really say I've seen a person.
Right.
Don't
right.
say actually a person. You know,
Right,
say when
right.
you say identify them.
Right. Well, there is the phenomena of the shadow people, isn't
Yeah.
there?
I've seen sat at the bar and watched the clock move. Like
Right.
not on the top.
Yeah. Not like
I'm not talking about the hands going round.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the
Right.
actual clock move
Right,
and
yeah.
other people being in.
Right.
I had lots of glasses just slung like off the bar.
Yeah,
Just literally like
Oh, so there's been nobody really
no,
just flew across
nowhere
the
there.
bar. Yeah.
Instance when I've gone upstairs and I can smell cigar smoke,
Yeah.
but it, very strong.
Right.
And bear in mind nobody smokes.
Right.
And I've never allowed anybody to smoke a cigar in here anyhow. Even when we had the smoking,
Yeah.
I never allowed them. It's
Right,
too
aye,
strong
it's a bit
and
of-
stuff like that.
yeah.
So kind of like things like that.
Yeah.
Noises, quite a lot.
Right.
And
So when you say noises, what type of noises? Like, you know, is it knocks? Is it
just
raps
like
or
somebody moving something.
Right.
If you know, if I was to get up now and move a chair or move something,
Right.
the sound of general
Right.
moving,
But nothing actually moving, just the sound of it.
just the sound of it.
Right.
And my sister lived with us for a while, and we used to have a dog lady, and we had her for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And my sister used to come down, and my sister's quite interested in the spiritualist
Right.
side
right,
of things.
Yeah.
And she used to come down, and she said, she went, "Oh, that bloody dog." And I says, "Well, leave him upstairs." She went, "No, not him, the other one."
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, "What other one?" She went, "Well, lady." She went, my sister used to come down, have a cigarette, and watch.
Right.
Just what? She went, "I could see the dog walk across the floor."
Right. But she was upstairs. The dog,
Well, it was a
the
different
dog
dog.
was upstairs,
It was the. She said, "She went, I can see the dog."
Right.
We've had people lasses who've worked for us, and they've gone, "Who's that?" I said, "Where?" At the bar. And I went, "There's nobody there."
Yeah.
She's just
Yeah.
standing at the bar.
Yeah. So is there any history to these? Like, is there a history of a dog, you know, sort of dying on the premises?
Well,
or?
the dog, that was our dog.
Right.
We had a dog very similar to the black one you've seen.
Right.
And when we had her for about 14, 15 years,
Right.
and she was a proper pub dog.
Yeah, yeah.
She sat and went round everybody,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And one day she went out and we shouted out, come on, and she went out and she just gone, disappeared. Never seen her, and it was a week and a half later, it was one of the lads who worked for the council. He says, we found the dog.
Right.
She had gone onto the port, went behind the tanks, lay down and died,
Right.
which is a common thing for some dogs.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
go-
I lost a dog myself a couple of years ago,
Aye.
and it was explained to me because you know, the dog died whilst I
Yeah.
was out, and but it was lively before I went out recovery, you know,
Yeah.
jumped all over me as it did, and then I went out, and then I came back a couple of hours later and it died, and it was explained to me that the one died in front of you.
Yeah,
You know, he obviously was dying, but he was never going to die when I was there.
Yeah.
So he waited until that went out and then passed away. So obviously she's done the same thing. She's gone away to die out of your sight. As
yeah.
it was, yeah.
And it was really strange. But as I say, my sister used to say to us and see her walking across,
Right.
you know.
And was this after you knew that the dog had passed? Or?
Oh yeah, the dog
Yeah.
had been dead 10 or so years.
Right.
But my sister, only the last few years she moved out and she used to come down, she went,
So it's not even like you could say, oh, well, it's fresh in her head because she's thinking about the dog, you know.
But she's constantly, she went, I can see it walking across the floor. When I'm sitting she would come out 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, sit down in the corner by herself. But like I say, my sister's very into the spiritualist stuff,
Yeah,
so she doesn't bother with out, you know.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, Dave's into all that. He's a spiritual stuff. He likes all that sort of stuff.
And because my mum always taught us, like, you know, it's only the living can hurt you. So
Yeah.
no fear of out. And I'm people say, are you not scared? And I'm well, no, not really.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
not what's to be scared of, you know.
Yeah.
And so I've always lived in that sort of, you
So
know.
there's always been something.
Yeah.
And is it because of the area? You know, the slums and the militia and this, that and the other?
I don't know.
Is there any history of that?
It may be just the fact that when you're attached to people, and you think, I've had this pub now 29 years.
Yeah.
So you think about 29 years of people come and go, people who've drank in here for 10, 15 years, people I knew prior to that,
Yeah.
like family,
Yeah.
you know, and when I was open every night, some of them were in every night, so
Yeah.
I've seen them more than I've seen some of my
Right,
family.
I've seen your family,
So they kind of been attached to the, and you know, it's just, you think, are they just here? Are they just, are they there? Are they looking after you?
Yeah. So have you actually seen, I know you're saying your sister saw the dog, whatever, have you actually seen a person apart from these shadow people? Or
No, I
just been there?
honestly
Yeah.
haven't seen. I've seen when I've thought
Yeah, when you
that's
think
just
you
gone
saw
past
something,
us.
you're like,
But I've heard lots. I've seen other things.
yeah. Right.
We had a guy in. He works at local cash and carry, and he said, "Oh well, we do this paranormal thing, and we go down all over and that." And so he says, "Oh, can we come down?" He was only a young lad.
Yeah.
I says, "I no bother." I says, "You know, come along." I says, "You know, fill your boots type of style."
Yeah, yeah,
So he
yeah.
comes along and he gets all this stuff out, and I was like, "What on earth is this?" I mean, he had thermal imaging stuff. He had lasers.
Yeah. Dave's got all that stuff.
Oh, I've never seen so much
Yeah.
equipment.
I'm sure he's trying to film the new Star Wars with the amount of equipment he's got.
And they'd set it up, and they'd come in. We had 2 or 3 of the customers were in, and they were saying, "Well, do you just want to get involved in this, that, and the other?"
Yeah.
And they were saying, "Oh well, no, we're going home."
Yeah,
They said
yeah,
to me, "Do you want to stay up?" I went, "Oh no." I says, "I'll leave. You're just gonna have the
Yeah.
pub, and I'm away. I'm
Yeah.
going to bed like."
Yeah.
He says, "All right." I says, "Just on your way out, just
Yeah.
pull the doctor and whatever."
So they stayed overnight, did they?
They stayed overnight.
Right.
So the next day I went to Boogers, and I'm a bit crap on
Yeah,
with
yeah.
young Michael. I says, "Oh, what was it like?" He went, "What was it like?" He says, "Your place is absolutely lifting
Right.
with presence."
Yeah.
I says, "Well,
But Dave,
Aye.
you said you felt something just before there, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm just going to put a mic on there. I'm sitting here now, we've taken some photographs, and just to my right here, I've actually felt as if there's been a presence next to us. It's been getting cold. Christine's been doing she's been checking the temperatures, and we've had a little bit of a temperature fluctuation against where I've been sitting.
Right.
But it just felt as though, you know, when you're aware of somebody actually sitting next to you, sort of thing.
Right, yeah. So it felt like somebody sat
Yeah.
down beside you.
And I was actually at one stage looking and actually thinking, hold on a second, and obviously putting my hand in and out and stuff, so it was kind of,
Yeah.
and then obviously the hairs went up on the back of my neck.
Right.
It was,
So when you put your hand out, did your hand turn cold? Like, did you feel it?
Yeah.
And then as you pull it away, it turned back to
There
normal?
was a definite cold spot where,
Right.
roughly about where my hand is there now,
Right.
and I've checked the window
Yeah.
to see if there's any draft or anything coming off there at all, like there's nothing.
Right.
But I've had a, as if somebody's very
Yeah.
interested in what we're actually doing and they're actually watching.
And they're
as if
watching,
they're,
they're
like,
watching
sort of
what
sitting
you're doing.
Yeah, it's like,
Well, I'm wondering what you're doing, should I say, rather than watching what
it's-
you're doing.
It's kind of like what's all this equipment and what's
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
But like I said, it's just like, and I was just very
Right.
aware that this is sort of a
Right.
like a cold
So you
spot.
think, do you think it's somebody from way back, and that's why they're a bit like sort of...
I'm not in that sort of. I couldn't really say if
Right,
that makes sense. I couldn't sort of.
Just when you were
say-
saying that they were interested in the stuff, the equipment, I thought you
I
meant like
think,
sort
I
of like,
think
you know,
it's,
they're
yeah,
like,
it's
oh,
like,
what's all
it's
that?
as if they're sort of. I just get the impression that they're actually sitting next to us and they're watching,
Right.
quite intent with what's going on,
Right, right.
as if
Yeah.
they're showing an
And are
interest.
they still there now, or have they gone?
Um,
Have you bored them that much? They're still over there?
no, I'm more than that. No, it just feels as though it's. I just keep getting every now and again. There's
Yeah.
a little bit of like a temperature fluctuation. This.
Right,
I mean, I don't
right.
know. I mean, you probably answer the question. Is that you haven't had any problems with the windows here? There's no drafts. Because there's nothing. I mean,
Well, the
there's
heat
lots-
should be coming off that radiator. There should be heat coming.
It's honestly, I kid you not. It's like putting your hand inside a domestic fridge.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you say you've took some photos?
I think Aaron, did you take? Aaron's taken a few
Right.
photos that were sitting around, but obviously,
Right.
like Christine's been taking temperatures, and there is
Right.
a temperature difference between
Yeah.
this area and this area here.
Right.
Because I'm obviously when she's
And
been
is
checking-
it a fluctuation, or is it the constant temperature difference?
there's a temperature difference between the two areas.
Right, right.
You know, so I mean, I don't know how Christine, how much was it? Can you? She's
2 degrees at the minute.
2 degrees.
Right.
So there's 2 degrees difference between.
And
the
it
two
stays at that 2 degrees, does it, or does it
Yeah,
It's
fluctuate?
been staying, yeah, it
Right,
has, it's been
right.
staying and that. So it's quite interesting, like I said, it
Yeah.
it actually feels as though I've got like I had a draft on the side of my face.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting quite, alright, okay, here we go.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what we're here for. Hopefully we'll
We're
experience
tempting,
something.
hopefully, fingers
Yeah.
crossed, we're
Yeah.
we're going to
I'm presuming that's Christine with the red dot there.
Yeah, that, right, that there,
Or is that somebody trying to? I was just saying, is that somebody trying to aim the sights on you?
it's definitely not a sniper.
Yeah.
It's what it is, it's actually,
Now it's a sniper because it's on your chest. Dave.
yeah, it's on, no, what that is, that's a laser thermometer. So what it does
Right.
is it takes the temperature of the area where we're actually sitting,
Right,
and it sort of, you know, we can
right.
sort of like.
And how accurate are one of them?
It's
Very
Yeah.
pretty.
So, I mean, I don't know.
That one there
Yeah.
was from my past life in the hospitality industry, where I used
Right.
to have to go and do actually.
From your past life?
Past life, yeah. When I was in it, is one
That's
of
a
my-
completely different thing, Dave.
Yeah, we're not talking paranormal. Like. No, that one I used to use at
Right.
work for testing the temperatures of all the fridges
Right.
and stuff. I used to do when
Is
I
that, is that an area that you've had people say that the stuff happened, or
There's
or is it just generally
pretty
on the
much
right way around?
everywhere.
Right.
There's things happen.
I'm getting it now. I'm actually physically getting it.
Right. So you're getting like a fluctuation in
Is
the
it-
heat, or
it's as if I'm putting my hand into a slightly cooler area there
right,
now.
right.
And
right.
Christine, can you confirm if there's any temperature differences or anything like
So,
that?
23 there.
I've just nearly killed myself. So,
If you come round this side here,
right.
you can just sit in that chair there. I'll watch the.
So this is where you're sitting, obviously, and this
Yeah.
is where the. So, are you saying it's cold or it's
I've
just
got
different?
just a slight temperature difference to there. Just as I've been sitting, just feeling it to my right hand side there now.
Right. I don't know what it is, but I can feel that.
Right.
So, you know, I'm obviously, as I've always said, I'm never going to say that somebody's lying, but I can't feel any
Yeah.
difference. It feels exactly the same to me. But as I say, you know, I mean, obviously, if that's the way you feel it, then, and if the thermometer's saying, then it must be just me.
Well,
It must be me that's the problem.
time will
But
tell.
yeah, well, exactly, and that's what it's all about. So, there's not a specific area or specific time that something appears. Like,
No.
is there, you know, because sometimes people will say at a certain time this happens, but that's not the
No,
case.
we've had just people it is random, and been lots of things that I could tell you what people have said, seen,
Yeah.
etc. And they are quite random. There's a girl who used to work for us. There's a couple comes in every Friday, goes sit at the top. They come to the bar, got served, and as they were getting served, Kelly just like looked at them, and Tom froze. He went, "What's the matter?" And she jumped and looked over. She went, "I can see smoke coming up
Right?
from you."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Where?" And
Yeah.
there was no smoke there.
Right.
So she's
So you can see smoke around you.
Yeah.
Is there been a history of a fire or something? Is that
No.
what the smoke from?
No.
Right.
it's just she's looked. She thought there's something
Yeah.
I liked.
Yeah.
And when she looked, there was no there. But they
Right.
couldn't see that.
Right.
And I left, and he says, "I'll tell you what, I wouldn't do that on my own."
Right.
And I said, "Well, why?" He says, "Well," he started telling us the story. He says, "I was
Right.
standing next to the bar." He says, "And I would look," he says, "and my brother's talking to us."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he kind of like looked and like glanced over my shoulder, and
Right.
he said, "I knew that, you know, there was something there."
Right.
So as I turned round, there was a woman at the end of the bar.
Right.
And I went, "Right, okay." I says, "What did she look like?" He says, "Well, I can't really describe what she looked like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
yeah.
I know it was a woman."
Yeah.
It's like when you know, look from a distance, you can see a man and you can see a woman, and you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
tell,
yeah.
kind of tell the difference.
Yeah.
And I says, "All right." I says, "Now," he says, "well, she had a white coat on." And I was quite flippant with him. I says, "Well, you'll end up with a white coat. Bloody,
Yeah,
bloody
yeah.
straight jacket."
Yeah.
He says, I mean, you know, this lad,
Yeah.
he's a nice kid. He says,
Yeah.
"No," he says, I'm being absolutely serious." He says, "She was standing there at the end of the bar and then just went."
Right.
And I went, "All right, okay, no bother."
So she just disappeared in front of his
just
eyes.
gone, just
Right.
faded. I went, "Aye, all right." Like I say, I'm very, very skeptical
yeah,
myself, you know.
yeah.
Even though I've seen a lot and heard a lot,
yeah.
still have this, you know,
Yeah.
unless it's written
Yeah,
down
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
No, I mean, I'm exactly the same. Like, you know, I mean, I'm a firm believer that if there's an explanation for it, then I'll always go with
Yeah.
the explanation for
Yeah.
it, rather than instantly
That's
jumping
right.
on the paranormal.
So I was thinking, well, you know, fair enough. And yeah, there's a couple gets in here as well, when they live across the road. And I said, it's a tight-knit community, we've all grouped together.
Yeah.
And he comes and he says, "Oh, I've got some photos here, we've been sorting out the loft." And
This is the couple from across the road.
yeah, he says, yeah. And you know, an envelope, and I opens it up, and there's a picture of his sister
Right.
and my mum.
Right.
We're all grouped together.
Yeah.
And I look now, and well, my mum died when she was 46,
Right.
which is fairly
Is
young.
that quite a while ago?
Oh yeah.
Right.
And I just thought, you know,
Was that whilst you had the pub?
no, my
Right.
mum,
Oh,
never
before-
seen us have the pub.
Right.
My mum died in 1990, and I
Right.
took this on 91.
Right.
And I looked at it and I thought, oh, you know, I remember my mum. And
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Of course.
And then I thought, white coat. And I remember my mum having this white blazer.
Right.
And it was pretty much just before she died. She used to wear it.
Yeah,
She thought,
yeah.
thought she looked really
That's
nice.
Sunday's best.
Yeah. And yeah, I went to the cash and carry and I took this photo over. And I says to Michael, I says, "Michael," I says, "I've just found this. Is this anybody that comes in here?" And it stopped him in his tracks, and he went,
Right.
That's- "That's what I seen in the bar."
Yeah.
Right now, he went.
And this Michael didn't know.
Michael's
the
only a young
didn't
lad.
know-
Michael will be, God, he wouldn't have been alive when my mum died.
Right. So you wouldn't have
would
like
never, ever
you
have
wouldn't have
known.
saw a picture of her or
No,
anything like that. So
no.
you wouldn't have known who it was.
No,
Right.
not in a million years.
Right.
He's not even from our area.
Aye,
You know,
yeah,
he lives
aye.
on the estates.
Yeah.
So for him to say that,
Yeah.
and I says, well, actually, I says, that's my mum.
Yeah.
And he says that the next time we had another paranormal group in, and I was
Right.
explaining to them, and they said their explanation was, yeah, people attach themselves to you.
Right.
They're looking out for you.
Right.
They're there.
So she never saw you in the pub, but she's attached to you because she's your mother.
Yeah.
And so when you've moved into the pub, she's moved in with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Kind of like, you know, being that you
Yeah, she's looking over you.
guardian
Obviously
angel
she-
type
I was
of
going to say she's your mother, so obviously she's there to protect you, isn't
yeah.
she? Right.
And I've that was probably the most unnerving thing that I've
Yeah, to be
come
to be
across-
told that your mother is here.
and the fact that how would he would never ever have
Yeah.
known in a million years.
yeah,
You know, it was impossible.
yeah.
And
Because I mean, one of the conversations that me and Dave have had is that he said to me that he would like either my mother or my father, because both my parents are gone,
Yeah.
and they both said that if they could come back,
Yeah.
they would come back.
Yeah.
And both non-believers, exactly the same as me, but they said if they could, they would come back. Now Dave said to me that he hopes that one of them comes back, and I said, well, no, that's the opposite of what I want.
Yeah.
The last people I want to come and tell me is my mother and father,
Yeah.
because then I would feel that when they went, I would be losing them like, all over again,
Yeah.
and I didn't want that.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have somebody else, if it was possible, I'd rather
Yeah.
have somebody else come and tell me, like an
Yeah.
uncle or something, rather than it being them two, because as I say, if that was to happen, then I would feel that I was losing them twice, and therefore, go through the heartache again.
yeah, right.
So it must be difficult for you to have somebody who sees that they've seen your mother
Oh,
in here.
it was.
And is that the only occasion that somebody saw your mother, or?
That's the only occasion that we had that, and then as I say, we had the other paranormal group that came in, and I was explaining where the
Yeah.
apparition was seen, etc.
Yeah, yeah.
And had these boxes, and he says, well, go where,
Yeah.
and I had it in my hand,
Yeah.
and I was standing just at the side here, nothing, and as I went to the spot, it was just,
Yeah. Christian, you'll be able to tell us what one of them boxes are, because I haven't got a clue. A box out with a needle on that goes crazy when there's activity around.
EMF.
Right. Yeah. EMF, weren't there a band that sang You're Unbelievable?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. So what's an EMF?
Electrical magnetic field.
Frequency, yeah.
Yeah.
Field, yeah. Field.
Right.
We've got one here.
Right. So what does that do?
This would detect to see if there was actually any sort of an electrical stream or anything like that. It's also, I mean, I'm sitting around all the electrics here at the moment.
Yeah.
If I activate it now,
Yeah, it's going to go crazy because
it's actually going off the chart there in
yeah,
front of the
because
laptop.
it's saying that there's electric. So is that the sort of forces that spirits give off? Is it like an electrical force?
Yeah, it's supposed to be
So
electrical energy.
it.
Yeah. So, it's
So if
supposed
you
to
were
be,
to,
if you hold that button
I
on
don't know
the
if
side.
Aaron, the cameraman, can.
See, there's
can
not a
get
lot
on
there at the moment. In fact, there's 0 there at the moment. So as that moves towards something electrical, that should actually make a noise, but
Right.
it's, I don't think it's feeling very well.
Is the problem with that is, would it not? I mean, you're saying it's off the charts when it takes that, isn't it? Would that not be affected by
Well,
electricity?
what you'd actually normally do is you'd actually come in and you'd do like a baseline reading.
Right,
So
so
what you
you
do
come
is
in and
just-
you say, right, this is showing up as 3 for
Yeah,
dark,
Christine's kind of had a little bit of a walk around with us
Right.
already just to see what the baseline's reading. So then if we
Right.
actually experienced anything later on, this would then,
So if like sort of across down the bottom of the
Yeah.
bar there, if it was a reading of 3, but then you went down later on and it was a reading of 7.
yeah,
Then, yeah, right.
it would actually register that. So
Yeah,
yes.
because as you can probably tell, I haven't got a clue what all this equipment is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the voice of the show, but obviously these guys are the experts. You know, these guys knows what goes on behind the scenes. So you said, sorry, these guys were saying that this EMF was off the chart.
yeah, he says, where you are, as soon as it got to the side, it started to
Right?
like really go. And I was looking, I said, well, is it right? And they went, yeah, it's right, move. And I moved, and it went.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the start, and they had a couple of these devices, and they moved over there with theirs, and
Yeah.
it wasn't half as strong.
Right.
I said, well, that's because the presence with you.
Also, going back to what this Michael was saying about
Yeah.
your mother, the spirit's attached to you.
Yeah.
So the EMF was going crazy around you rather than
Yeah.
the actual spot.
And one of the girls, this is what I found dead interesting. She was one of the workers from Gen 2, a girl called Gemma Carrick. She did one of the first ones with this paranormal group.
Yeah.
And they went somewhere, and there was a girl a young girl's spirit had attached to her,
Right.
and she took her home.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Gemma's quite a level-headed girl.
Yeah.
And she said, for weeks, this presence was in her house.
Right.
The whole, I mean, obviously, when you live in a house and then things change,
Yeah.
you know there's something there. She
Yeah.
says this girl was there.
Right.
There was things happening.
Was that like a negative, or was it? How did it?
It was. She says it was quite positive. It was disturbing, the fact that things were happening and she couldn't understand what was happening and why it was happening. But she'd got back in touch with Fiona, who runs this other paranormal group, and actually said to us, "She's, I'm not being funny, but there's things happening in my house that are not right."
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, what do you mean?" She says, "There's things happening, things moving, things getting displaced, things are disappearing." And so they went back and actually had to sort of exercise
Right.
the house.
Right.
So when
Also, you actually got somebody in. You actually got somebody in to exercise that.
Yeah.
Right. And was it this paranormal group that did it?
Yeah, they went
Right,
in and she says sometimes, like, their explanation is that these souls, these entities, attach themselves to good, because Gemma's very like
Yeah.
light-hearted, very, she's
she's a good egg.
yeah.
Good egg. Yeah.
So she says they've kind of attached themselves to her. So when she's left this place where this girl was from, the spirit's gone with her. It's a better place.
Yeah.
So she's attached herself to
Yeah.
her being. And
Did this exorcism work?
yeah,
Did they-
Gemma
did
says
the spirit
once they got it done,
Right.
it cleared. She went,
So, what were these paranormal? Because we discussed exorcisms in a couple of shows ago.
when
didn't
we discussed the exorcism,
Yeah.
was a couple of weeks ago when we were actually discussing it. We said that you have obviously the church, the Catholic Church do
Yeah.
an exorcism,
Yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
the spiritualists would
Yeah.
do like a clearance or like a
Right.
spirit
Yes.
clearance.
Right. And is that what these people were, the spiritualists?
Yeah,
Or the-
it was-
Right.
So again, what they would have done is they would have gone in, they would have said a prayer, they would have asked the spirit to go towards the light, etc.
Well, if it was, as Jeff said, it's obviously been a nice spirit, hasn't it?
Yes.
So if they had said, you know, you're bothering this young lady, do you mind leaving?
Oh yeah, I
And,
mean,
you know, if it's such a nice spirit, it is going to go. It's
see
not
that-
going to
yeah.
be like, no, I'm not. I'm stopping here.
We see
I'm
that's
going to smash a few plates.
well, that's I mean that's obviously when we were having a discussion about sort of like the negative side, the Hollywood side of things
Yeah.
and stuff like that. When you're actually saying to for a spirit to move on,
Yeah.
you know, a spirit's gone on. This is a lovely person, nice soul.
Yeah.
Like souls attached to each
Yeah.
other, etc. And
Yeah.
then what they'll do is they'll actually be with you know they'll follow them along, and
Yeah.
you've sort of
Yeah.
things start happening, and as you rightly say, you start feeling as if there's a change, there's like a shift of balance in the house, and there's things moving.
Right.
It shouldn't be moving.
Yeah.
Things going missing. I mean,
That's
I know.
just when Aaron comes to visit.
Yeah.
Normally in your wallet.
Yeah, but you know, there's that sort of attitude where there is a definite shift in like in the balance of the home. It's not
Yeah.
as sort of is feels as nice as normal. I think is probably the very loose way of describing it.
yeah,
But then what would happen is this like a spiritualist would come in and they would basically ask the spirit, they would thank the spirit for being there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, ask the spirit to move on, ask the
Right.
spirit to go to the, you know. If the SNU spiritualist, it would be the last one to move forward to the Summerland.
The what spiritualist?
Spiritualist National Union,
Right,
SNU, which is the most.
Will you stop using acronyms and actually
Sorry.
tell me what the words are?
Sorry, I'm. But no, they would actually, you know, and it
I
does.
thought that was some sort of coal union you were talking about.
No. But no, that's how it will work. So they would
Yeah.
actually ask the spirit to move forward, and it you know, like I say, there's when you see films like The Exorcist, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
films that we were talking about in the
Yeah,
previous show.
Heroes and all that.
Yeah, we were talking about the sort of the priest coming round and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's nothing like
Say
that.
my favourite line.
Yeah,
The power of Christ compels you.
yeah. Absolutely. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really like that. It's sort of there's a blessing done, and then
Yeah.
what they actually would do is they would use the colour blue. So like they really sort of like if you imagine like a flashing blue off a police car, that
Yeah.
type of blue
Right? Is
colour.
there a reason why it's blue?
It's like a divine divine light.
Right?
And then light of protection, blue for protection. Divine light is a pure white light, but
Right.
if you're going for the blue,
Right.
that's the protection. And what they would actually do is that they would actually
So is that why the police have blue lights?
no,
for
I
protection?
think that's more the case of them just, I think that's the one you
I was going to say I've heard
this
it's because it can be seen through fog.
Yeah,
It's the
something
only
like that.
coloured light that can be seen through fog.
Yeah, but what they would do is they would actually then, in one of the prayers that they'll actually say, and they'll actually say to the person in the house,
Yeah.
they would actually tell them to wrap like a blue
Aura?
aura, yeah, I think for want of a better expression, like an aura
Right.
around the house,
Right.
and that then would protect the house and stop.
That's what the spiritualist would do,
Yes,
or that's what I
that's
would
what-
ask the spirit
That's
to
what
do.
a spiritualist would say to the person. I want you to imagine that there's a blue, like a.
The person
Can-
who's
can you remember
been
the
haunted, or the person who
the person who the spirit has attached itself to?
Right. So this young lady who Jeff mentioned, she's the one that would imagine this blue aura around
Yes.
the house
The blue aura
to
of
then
protection.
chase the spirit that's attached
It
to her.
wouldn't chase the spirit, but it would prevent the spirit from coming back, because obviously they would ask the spirit to move forward.
Right. So they've chased the spirit out,
Yeah.
but then wrapped this blue aura around it,
And that would
and it can't get back.
that would offer
Right.
the protection to the lady. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but the lady who you were talking about, yeah, Gemma. They would tell her to do that.
Right.
So if you imagine the Ready Brett kid,
Right.
is the best way I've heard it described. You imagine the Ready Brett kid.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
would
yeah, it gets the
surround.
glow around it,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So you've got the glow. You'd
Yeah.
surround yourself with the glow.
Right.
There's different colours that mean
So
different things.
is that something that you have to constantly think of, though?
No.
So once you've done it,
Once
it's
you
wrapped.
ask for that to happen, that
Right.
would in effect
Right, so that would wrap your house and then
that would be it, yeah.
So it wouldn't be like, oh, I forgot to wrap your
You
house.
wouldn't have to do it. You wouldn't have to do it every day
Right.
if you were sort of concerned and you felt as though you needed to do it again. And
Right.
you could advise the person to do that and say
Yeah,
to them, if you're feeling a little bit upset, a little bit scared or anything like that at
Yeah.
all,
Right,
just put the
re-wrap
blue
it
light
up.
around the house. Put the blue light around yourself. Just imagine yourself encapsulated in the blue light, and
Right.
then that's how it would work.
Right.
So.
Oh, right. Well, you're right.
There we
So,
go.
so that's how obviously the spiritualists would have getting rid of this. So did that, Gemma, did you know who this young girl was?
No,
Like, did you
she just knew there was a young presence. She knew it was
Right.
a young girl.
Right.
And
Did you actually see her? Is that how she knew she was a young
she
girl?
said
Or?
she went in the house. She went, but I didn't feel threatened. There was
Yeah,
no
yeah,
threat.
yeah.
But she went out. It was quite unnerving to think that, because Gemma, a young child, and
Yeah.
there's somebody else. There's some other presence.
Yeah.
And when you're not, it's just our nature. If we don't know anything about it, we tend to either fight it
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
we go
Or go
against
with
it. It's a very, very.
Yeah.
I think it's just something that's inbuilt with us.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
If we don't understand it,
Yeah.
it's wrong.
Yeah.
But she said, I wasn't that bothered. She went, but then it started really. It was like, this shouldn't be here. It's not
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And it felt as though it was always with us,
Mm.
and so that I had to go back
Yeah.
and remove the spirit.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really strange.
Yeah.
that,
And once they had been and removed it, that was it.
That was it, yeah.
She never
Yeah.
experienced anything
Yeah.
more after that.
No.
So, right.
but she knew, because like in a pub, I think there's so much goes on.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to see a shadow, to hear a noise,
Yeah.
you could say, oh,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
it could
yeah.
be this and
Right,
that.
yeah.
But in your own home, you think you know more.
Yeah, you sort of like know. what
Everything's in
goes-
its
yeah.
place and stuff like that. So when things move and
Yeah.
go missing,
Yeah.
then you've got to question it, But she knew. She says, I knew that there was something.
Right.
She went, I felt it. I could feel
Yeah.
there was something there all
Right.
the time.
So at no point of any of these spirits, I mean, you're saying that's a nice one that attaches itself to Gemma. There's none of these spirits that are the nasty. I know
No.
Anita was telling us one about the guys who threw the beer across.
Oh, quite often throws the
Yeah.
beer off the table.
Right, and that's just because of they being a bit rowdy and whatever.
Quite often,
Yeah.
and then, you see these guys step back and I'm like,
Yeah. How did that happen? Yeah.
And I look at it and going, you've done that, I've never touched it.
Right.
You know, the gas, constantly turn the gas off.
Right.
You got to say, I mean, the gas bottle, if you ever turn a gas bottle on and off, it's quite stuck.
It's good,
You go down, the gas is off. You go,
Right.
who's turned this off?
Right.
And think, just little things like that, you just
Yeah.
think, how on earth has that happened?
Yeah.
Things, glasses just, we were sitting there and they just come off the shelf, just
Right.
smash.
Right.
And you're thinking, well, what on earth is that?
Yeah.
You know? But,
And there's no like sort of vibrations in the ground or anything.
No.
There's no like earthworks or anything going
No.
around the area that could cause vibrations.
not a thing, it just
Right.
literally just happen. And,
Right.
and you're
Yeah.
thinking, my God.
Right.
But it's like kind of activity that we get quite bursts of it.
Ah.
There's a lot of things go on within months,
Right. And then
And
nothing
then-
at
then
all.
nothing.
Right.
you know. But
Yeah.
it's not a threatening.
So nobody's actually been harmed.
No,
from it.
and there's nobody ever said, you know, like this is like
Yeah.
touching us and
Right,
this,
yeah.
that and the other.
Yeah.
It is just dead friendly. The only
Right.
person who complains, like I was saying earlier on,
Yeah. Yeah.
Was-
You'll have to tell the listeners all about that
with
story about the
Tommy,
little boy.
there's an old guy that comes in, Tommy. I mean, Tommy, he's an East End lad, and he likes a few pints, like.
Yeah.
But never ever put it down to just having. a
Yeah.
drink.
Yeah.
He'll come in and he'll say, "Where's that lad?" You know, Tommy, what? There's no lad there. He says, "The little get, he keeps looking behind there." I've told him,
Right.
and I went, "What have you told him?" Tommy says, "What are you looking at?" I said, "Tommy, there's nobody there."
Yeah.
And he says, and Tommy got himself all frustrated.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
telling you, he was standing behind there looking at us. He was peeking behind the wall, and I just thought, why is he peeking behind the wall? I said, well, where'd you come from? He came from your side. I says, there's nobody
Oh,
there, Tommy.
Yeah.
And a couple of times he's seen this. He says it's a young lad
Right.
that's there. He says, and he's like
Yeah.
peeking behind the wall. Now, when he first saw that, it might have been 2 years after, and the paranormal group that came in, I was
Yeah.
telling you about, they come in and they were sitting, and they fetched this guy, Noel Sorbier,
Right.
who's a spiritualist medium or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And he said, there's a young kid running about here, a little cheeky kid,
Right.
and I just thought,
And this story hadn't been
no,
released to the press, or
no, this was just Tommy.
This paranormal group didn't
This
know anything
is
about it.
just Tommy having a drink
Right.
on a Friday night, and
Right.
and he said, oh, I've seen him. He says, the young lad,
Yeah.
and Tommy's adamant. I mean, you know, Tommy's ran businesses. He's
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
not-
So
he's
he's
not
quite
a-
an intelligent guy.
oh,
yeah.
very intelligent.
Yeah.
And he was adamant because I was laughing at him.
Yeah.
I'm bloody telling you, he was there. I'm
Right.
telling you, he's hiding behind the wall.
Right.
And I was like, well, I told him, but he's seen him a couple of times, so it's not just the once.
Yeah.
But then when he said about that, about there's a young lad running
Yeah.
about, and I went, well, that just really confirms it for me that there is something of
So
that.
is he the only one that's seen this little boy, or I mean, I know you're saying this.
Tommy's the only one that's
Right.
seen this little lad.
Right.
He's sitting down there. He's just run through
Right.
there.
And has Tommy suffered a loss or anything like that, or has
No,
anybody
no,
suffered
no.
a loss?
No.
So it's just
No,
just for some reason he
Alright.
randomly saw this.
I mean, if he was here, he'd tell you, and he's. I mean, he's quite passionate when he's
Yeah.
telling you as well. You know,
Yeah,
he'd say,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm telling you, it was.
Yeah.
No, I says, Tommy,
Aye.
but I'm telling you, there's nobody.
No, yeah. You can't see
There's
anything.
physically
yeah.
nobody there. 'Cause
Right,
I
yeah.
haven't got any young lads.
No.
There's no young lads live here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it is strange that presence was
Right.
there. But then I was explaining to them. I says, well, we've got a couple of people. Well, in fact, we've had nearly all of the family work here at some point.
Right.
But the nana worked here, and young Peter was 10-year-old, and he died. He had a heart
Right.
condition.
Right.
And I was explaining what he was like. He had a little bit of autism,
Right.
and he was that type of kid, and he had energy to burn.
Right.
I mean, he was like,
Yeah.
honestly, a little tornado.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, his poor life was cut short.
Yeah.
And I was explaining, like,
Yeah.
could it be that? He says, it sounds exactly who it is.
And has he seen a picture of this young
No,
boy? Right.
no,
Right.
no.
So he hasn't seen a picture to say, yes, that's who I
No.
saw. Right.
He says he just comes from one side, he's
Yeah.
looking, he's just peeking round the corner,
Yeah.
like that. He says that, and he said, the cheeky little bugger.
Right.
And I said, Tommy, there's nobody, I've seen him, you know.
And had this young boy been in the pub at all when he was alive?
No, but
No.
what I was saying earlier on, I mean,
Aye.
you know, I'm always looking for explanations
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
Because all his family, I mean, his grandmother,
yeah,
his mother, the whole, I've employed every one of them at
Right.
some point.
yeah,
So has this,
yeah. He's
because the house that they lived in is no longer there,
Right.
has this,
Yeah.
has
He's
this,
lost.
has anything come, well,
This is the last place.
this
that
is
he
where
was.
they come.
Yeah.
They're always in,
Right.
you know.
And do they know that this guy's seen this little boy?
Oh,
and
I
could
told
possibly-
them,
right,
as I says, the, explain it, and they were like,
Yeah.
bloody hell.
right.
But once again, we're not, there's no threat, there's no,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
no, oh, this has happened, that's happened.
Yeah.
Everybody's quite at ease, to be fair,
Yeah.
quite at ease with,
Yeah.
the
Right.
everything, to be fair. There's nobody,
So there's nobody come here, felt something, seen something, and not come back.
no,
So there's nobody being scared away from
no,
it. And as the people come, I mean, I know you mentioned the two paranormal groups, and us obviously, but has there anybody come solely because of the fact of that it's been haunted? You know, 'cause
No.
some places it becomes a tourist attraction.
not that we know of, but we have had people who were in it and have just said, oh, it's got a nice presence in here,
Right?
it's got a nice feel,
Yeah.
just feels,
Yeah.
feels safe, you feel.
Right. Right.
So, you know, and I think, well, that's because I look after it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's that and the other, but that's the kind of
Yeah.
thing they get, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nobody comes in and going,
Yeah, I feel quite.
yeah,
Like,
I feel threatening. There's something.
you're on about that, aren't you?
Yeah, I came in, well, it was when I met you for the first
Yeah.
time a couple of weeks ago, and it was, we came in, and I felt really, really welcome. But
Yeah.
this, I mean, I've grown up in this environment, this was like where I lived as a child. This
Right.
to me feels like home.
Right.
So the pub's got a lovely feel to it. I mean, even when it was full of, I saw all the girls
Yeah.
playing bingo and there was the karaoke on and stuff.
Mm.
And it's just got such a nice feel to the pub.
Right.
It's not like one of those pubs where they tell you stories where you walk in and the pool ball stops and the water
Right,
stops
yeah,
pouring
yeah,
out the
yeah.
tap. It's got
Yeah,
a
you
lovely
walk in,
feel.
nobody actually took any notice of it.
Yeah, it was kind of like, well, look, there was a couple of people actually said hello to us.
Right.
So, it was kind of,
Right, so there's a very friendly atmosphere
it's,
when
yeah,
you walk in.
for me being a complete stranger, walking into a pub for the first time, you do kind of, oh, right, yeah, hiya.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, it's got a lovely feel to it. I just wanted to point out as well, there is a dog running around, so we have had a few noises up there.
I haven't got headphones on, Dave, so I don't care.
Yeah, there's a dog running around.
Yeah, shall I stick the microphone next to the dog barking?
But no, it's got a lovely feel, and I completely agree with that, because there is some places that you do go into.
By the way, that's a real dog.
Yeah, a real dog, yeah. There is some places that you go into and you have, it's like a negative feeling when you walk in, and you kind of,
Yeah.
you sort of, you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I lived in
Work.
Well, yeah, it's a factor as well. When I'd sort of cut one of the first shows that we did when we were talking about the schooner.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Schooner Hotel. Now it always makes me laugh on when Derek Okora and the Most Haunted team went up there, and other sort of investigations have gone up there. They've all done the main body of the hotel. They haven't done the scary bit, which is down the back, like I said to you, on that second level, down the back of there.
Right.
And that's where I saw.
Where you were trying to steal the cheese from.
Yeah, the second bit was make me cheese sandwich, and there was a large, I don't know how tricornered hat gentleman walked through the fridge,
You were saying
door.
like Charles
Charles the First or something, and he had the hair and everything, and he walked through the door, and of course I saw this bloke walk towards me. I was out there like 100 miles an hour. Now, supposedly the most haunted room in that hotel was my bedroom, room 28. And yeah, I felt some weird stuff in there. It never felt like home, but yeah. I'm
Careful what you say.
keeping it clean. But it was kind of, I always sort of didn't feel comfortable in that room there. You know what I mean? But going down the back of that hotel, going down that back corridor, And again, I was talking to my parents about
Yeah.
it like last week, and it was the hair on the back of your neck was standing on end, and you were thinking to yourself, every foot you would take, like footstep forward, you were taking, thinking, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. But it's the exact opposite in this place. It feels as though,
So we've had lots of people who come in and it's not like, oh, it feels nice in there because you've got the tech all.
Yeah.
It's that the conversation is, oh, it's got a nice feel.
Right.
yeah,
You know, it's, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you know, nice pair of slippers.
Nice
just,
combi,
yeah, it's just has it as
just get, you know,
Yeah.
and like I say, we've had none of the sightings, the experiences have been
So the one
negative, apart from like
yeah.
if you lost a pint off the table. And, you know,
Yeah.
but nothing like threatening it, you know.
You see, I've heard, like you say, we were discussing that when we earlier on with Anita when I was having a quiet chat with her, and that could be literally somebody, like she was saying that it was, I believe it was something to do with a group of football lads were in and they were being
Yeah.
a bit loud,
Yeah.
you know, and he kind of the pub guardian. You know, I've heard this theory banded around,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that every pub's got its pub guardian that's a guy or a woman who looks after the place, and it's
Yeah.
like either a landlord past, you know, or somebody who was in the area. And obviously, if you're misbehaving yourself in the pub and they want you to shut up, I mean, I've sat in the pub myself and looked across at a group of lads that have been a bit like leery or whatever, and you thought,
Yeah.
you know, calm yourself down, you know, but I wouldn't go over and spill a pint. That's,
No.
that's an extreme.
Yeah,
but
you're going to get away with that when you're a spirit because they can't do anything.
yeah. But you do sort of looking at that. I have heard that happening before,
Right.
and I've heard people discuss it when they've been in pubs and stuff, and they've
Yeah.
had you know.
Well, we're going to have a look around anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to go around with Christine and that unbelievable EMF
We're getting
and see what we can find. We've also got Steve here. Steve's going to.
Steve's had to go home and
Oh, he's got to see all right. Well, I've got Steve anymore. I didn't say both. He's had to go.
He crept out before.
Right. So yeah, so we've lost Steve.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. He's just had to go home. But yeah, we're going to have a wander around. But yeah, so obviously the little boy and whatever. So yeah, Jeff's just taking the dog back upstairs, so I didn't interrupt us.
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is we'll set up some areas and stuff like that for
Yeah.
you know, and just sort of like lock the camera off, and then I think we'll maybe run 2 or 3 at the same time.
Yeah. Right. So have we got any volunteers?
You said the week across at Christine.
I know we're Christine.
Christine's
Is
put
that
her
one
hand up, and I'm
volunteer?
sure. I don't know whether might. That's a definite no.
I might volunteer. I've got Aaron. Aaron might volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm going to leave this one in notes.
Excellent.
I'm sure.
Well,
thank you very much.
Work tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope that clock's wrong.
No, it's not. What? The what? No,
That one, yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean, that
The
one.
one behind
The
the
one
bar
that
is-
is 2:30 in the morning.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I know you're
Like I
going
say, I've been talking for a while, but I didn't realise we'd been talking that long. But yeah, so anything else? And before we go and have a look.
No,
And,
there's probably lots of things that we'll just pick up on little
Yeah,
things
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. But there's saying
But none of them have been violent or
just sightings of
or-
people sitting and moving and you know,
Yeah.
because most people, if they see it, because it's a pub, they're going, oh, somebody's down there, and
Yeah.
they'll probably take no. There's probably a lot more that people have seen, but don't take any notice because they just
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
was it
It's a
somebody
pub,
sitting
aye.
down there?
Yeah.
You know, was it?
Yeah.
Is there somebody there?
Yeah.
But when, like what Nita was saying, she knows for a fact it wasn't.
Yeah.
That person wasn't in.
Yeah.
You cannot, you know, who is that? So,
Yeah.
but other than that, most people just acknowledge this. Oh, there's somebody sitting there. Who was that?
Yeah.
Check it
Yeah.
out. I haven't
No.
served that.
I suppose, as Anita said about the lady of the toilet and whatever, if it had been a customer that saw somebody in the toilet and then they came out and they weren't there, they would just presume that that person just walked out the pub.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's probably lots of little things that's, but I mean, Pat's probably worked here as long, and Pat says, oh, I've seen loads
Right.
which just come out, and which has been in our own. So I've just seen somebody down there. So Pat, there's nobody in.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah.
and she's going, oh well, they're all right. And everybody has that. Everybody's had that attitude. It's
Yeah. So they don't feel threatened by them
No.
at all. Yeah. So is there any particular area which gets it more than others? I mean, I know we've mentioned the toilets or whatever.
no, not really. It's just wherever you like they seem to be looking at the
I would say here.
Right.
So, but
I mean, this area, that used to be called Death Corner,
Right.
right?
Nice.
And we never
I
called it
don't
that.
want to sit
We didn't really want to call it that for a while.
Yeah.
Because what we used to have a group of gentlemen.
Right.
There were about 9 or 10 of them out
Right.
Ballybrogan,
I didn't
and
come in there.
there was, and they were all, you know, fairly old.
Yeah.
And all sat there, and I used to sit and crack on with them. And there was one guy, he'd been in the Black Watch and stuff like that, and he was telling us about all his war exploits. And
Yeah, yeah.
is it,
Um,
this wasn't a guy from the Second World War, was it?
Yeah.
Second World War.
Right.
Right, okay then, that's interesting.
And he used to sit
Right.
and talk. But the really interesting thing to me was he never spoke to his family about it.
Right.
Because he said, oh, you know, and we was cracking on, and he was the most cantankerous person
Right.
ever. And his attitude was sharper than a knife.
Ah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say what
Yeah,
he
yeah,
used to
yeah,
come out
yeah.
with, but he used to, if you asked him a question, why, of course, man, what are you
Ah,
thinking?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he was very, like,
Ah.
confrontational.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he used to sit, and I used to talk to him. I used to go and pick him up from the house, bring him
Right.
round. I mean, he was
Right.
in his 90s,
Right.
you know, big
Yeah.
fella,
Aye.
big fella.
Yeah.
And I used to bring him round, and we'd sit down there, and I was cracking on, and then I got on talking. I says, you know, so, did you ever kill anybody? Why, I killed somebody. What do you think I was there for? You know?
Yeah, yeah,
and that
yeah.
was his attitude.
Aye,
he'd,
yeah,
be,
yeah.
he'd be straight down your throat, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'd be like, well, were you shot, Ralph? Oh, aye, yeah. And up with his trouser leg would
Oh,
come,
yeah,
and up with his shirt.
Oh, yeah, aye.
I got some shot. I've still got shrapnel, you know. Still got some in.
Aye.
And he's telling us some very disturbing stories, you know, really.
Yeah.
And then I was very good friends with the family, so I was telling them, when never ever spoke to us about it.
Aye.
Never ever.
Yeah.
I says, well, that's kind of a trait.
Yeah,
Seems to be
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the lads who did
Aye.
fight never really
Aye,
spoke
never,
about it,
yeah.
or especially to the
Yeah.
families.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So he was one of the guys. There was another Paddy, you know, gone to sea all his life, and
Yeah.
you know, a proper sailor type of thing. But they were all quite a close group, and
Right.
they pretty much went within a couple of years.
Right.
You know,
Like dying with each other,
But
yeah,
they
yeah.
all sat in that corner. They didn't sit
Right. Oh,
anywhere
that's why
else.
it's called the death corner, because
Aye.
they one by one.
And
they
people
get-
say, I'm not sitting there. If you sit there,
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
you
yeah.
didn't last long, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that
shit-
become a bit of a reputation, but obviously you've stopped
yeah.
calling it that
Yeah,
because of
I
that
mean,
exact
it was
reason.
just so happened that they sat there,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were of a certain age.
Yeah, yeah, they were-
That's
they were,
all.
yeah.
All it was.
Can I just dive in there? Christine, when she was doing the baseline tests, mentioned that, and I've just had a quick chat with her there, that she actually mentioned that she actually has had contact next door with a soldier from World War II. But
Yeah.
there isn't a name yet. Is there, Christine? For you?
Not yet.
Not yet.
He did say if I used the dice later on, he would give us a name, but
Yeah.
we'll
So
have to see.
Right.
you know what I mean. That's kind of when I sort of brought Christine in there with it, but that's kind of when she was doing the baseline test. So that,
Right.
you know what I mean. So,
So,
kind of.
so what actually happened, Christine? What was the experience?
It was just, I was using a crystal on a chain,
Right.
and you just ask it what the sign is for yes, what the sign is for no.
Right. Right.
Keep your hands steady,
Right.
and if it's a yes, it'll swing the crystal
Right.
itself.
Right. So how did you know that there were World War II soldiers?
Because I did ask the owner if this building had been anything else,
Right.
if there'd been
Right.
anything else here, and
Yeah.
he did see a barracks.
Right. Right. So
And
then you
that's when I
asked the
said-
crystal if it was.
Yeah.
Or
if
you
it
were
was
soldier,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
So it's like a if you imagine playing like a yes no game when you're using a crystal.
Yeah, yeah,
it's like
yeah,
like
yeah.
a yes no.
Yeah. No, but what I meant was, how did you know that he was a soldier? How was your World
Well,
War
it was
II
obviously
soldier?
it's a guided. It was a guided question.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it, we're in the barracks.
And that's obviously going back to my problem.
Yeah.
is that the spirit didn't answer that question without it being guided.
Yeah.
So it was a guided question. So
Yeah, well, it's like,
so that's as I've always said, that's the route that I'll always go
yeah,
down,
absolutely, absolutely.
and that's why I need the proof.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it was. And not that I'm calling anybody a liar, because I would never
Yeah.
do that. But that's obviously the route that I always go down.
Yeah.
I'm very very skeptical of things
Yeah.
this year, and I always find something.
But it was strange to say that they always sat there, and that's where they got a lot of good readings. They said, "Oh, this is a strange corner," but I didn't tell them
Yeah.
what it was when
Right.
I went, "Oh, this is," and they went, "This place here."
So it didn't have a reputation for being the death
No, it was
corner.
just it was a
It
group.
wasn't like everybody knew that was the place that
It was
these
a group of
had all
guys
that.
who drank in there for a
Right.
good few years, and just so happened that their ages and stuff all caught up with them.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean,
of course,
Rafi was 94,
yeah.
Paddy was well in his 80s.
Well, I'm not. I was
Yeah.
52.
You know,
he had a bad paper on.
so so when you look at that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's just coincidence that
Yeah.
it was their time, but it was really strange that the readings they got from that corner. It was
Right.
like, whoa, this is
Right.
and I was explaining myself, well, that corner.
Yeah. So that they didn't know about them guys.
No,
before
no,
they got the readings,
because they were
right?
just customers. It's
Right.
not like if you get. I'm very sceptical if somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, well, I've got such and such and
Yeah.
such and such." I'm going, well, you've probably done a little bit wrong, but have you been on Facebook? Have you
Yeah,
done
yeah,
this?
yeah.
Have you spoke to
Yeah.
somebody who's relative to me?
Yeah.
So you know, there's.
Yeah.
I would
No,
look-
no. I do that with Dave all the time.
Yeah,
don't I,
I'm
Dave?
pretty much like yourself. I look down that route and say, well, where could you have found that information?
Yeah.
But when it's just customers, you would never know because
Right.
they're just
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
You know, could be
Yeah.
anybody. But when
Yeah.
they anybody, and if they're like non-specific, and you can just say, oh well, it's a good guess.
Yeah.
When they
Yeah.
come out with a specific
Yeah.
tag,
Yeah. It's
well, you would
yeah,
never
it is,
have known
it is
that.
quite difficult to explain that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
definitely.
like you say, the experience I've had, I'm as much as the experience I've had, seen, heard, etc., and smelt.
Yeah.
I'm still very sceptical
Yeah.
that I need that like definitive.
Yeah. Well, I'm exactly the same. I need
Proof.
the definitive
You know,
proof.
but it,
Um,
like I say,
But I haven't experienced anything like what you're saying.
yeah.
You know, I mean, like when I went across there, I didn't feel any fluctuation in heat, in the temperature or anything.
I'll tell you what it is, I've just put my hand behind the back there, I can feel the radiator now behind here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there is definitely a radiator here, but
Yeah,
there is
yeah.
actually...
Is it still there? Is it? Can you still feel it? Or?
No, not at the moment,
Right,
no.
right.
Oh, they've gone home.
Yeah, leftovers.
Cold time at the bar.
Yeah. Well, I think we're done, aren't we? Because we're going to do the little bit walk around now.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your time, Jeff, and
welcome.
we shall definitely have a look and see what we can find.
Yeah.
Within the call for there's something. Right?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
it,
you.
clear.
Right, clear. 45 what? 45 minutes to your birthday. It's not 45 minutes to your birthday.
No, I'm 45.
I was going to say it's only 13 minutes to your birthday, isn't it? Or well, is it 15 minutes to your birthday?
Right.
Not just paranormal,
16
you've
minutes,
got a
yeah.
time machine as well.
16 minutes to your birthday. Aye, exactly. Aye.
Yeah. Good one.
Right,
Right, okay then. So,
when you what?
yeah.
Yeah?
3, 2. Oh, hold on, no, we've got to check the. Christine.
Speaking to your
speak in that
microphone, Christine.
Hello, it's Christine.
Right, hold on.
Well, we know.
Pull it towards you a little bit. That's it.
Hello.
Oh.
Is me all of the
Aye. Oh, hello, it's me from the other side.
Yeah.
Yay. Right, yeah, that's good to me. That's good. You happy?
Right? Yeah, well, I'm happy as long as you're happy. I haven't changed anything.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm still using the same microphone, so
Yeah.
as long
no,
as you're happy with the levels,
you're
then I'm
fine.
happy with the
You're
levels.
still rattling my eyeballs. All right.
What are you talking about?
1.
Right, hello, and we're still at the Welcome Tavern. This time I'm joined by Christine, who is our paranormal expert, because I haven't got a clue, so she must be an expert. So Christine, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in the paranormal, and what experiences you've had.
Oh, I've had quite a few. I would say at one time I was very sceptical. Didn't bother us, didn't believe in it, whatever. Until it was actually when my husband died.
Right.
I was invited to go down to see some spiritualists, and I went. Was actually told something that nobody else knew.
Right.
When my husband actually died, or just before he died, I did have a word with his mum who had passed,
Right. Right.
and I just said to her, can you take him and look after him?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, 'cause
Yeah.
we knew he was dying anyway.
Yeah. Right.
And of course, the medium at the time
Right. We knew
told
that would be.
us. He actually said, has your mum passed? And I went, yes.
Right.
I thought, well, that's a 50-50 question.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
You know,
Yeah.
and he says, you asked her to take Alan and look after him. Well, you could have picked me up off
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
Off the floor, and I went, no.
Yeah.
You went, you did? I went, no. He says, you did? Because he
Right.
says, I've got mum here.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm going to have to put him out of his misery. And I says, well, it's not my mum. I says, but I asked his mum.
Yeah.
You know. So that was the start. I thought, well, there is definitely something.
Yeah.
Because I thought nobody knew that. I
No.
told nobody that was between me and her.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And of course, the next thing he says, Alan says to tell you, Uri Geller.
Right. Oh.
And I just started to laugh.
Yeah.
Started to
Funny enough,
laugh.
as soon as anybody mentions you, we get a start to laugh. Well, that's a different story.
So I says yes.
Was
I
it
says,
just
it
bending
does
your ear
mean
about that?
something.
Way.
Oh dear me.
Right, sorry.
It must be that time of night. And I said, yes, it does make sense. I says, quite a few years back,
Right,
Uri Geller was on the telly,
right.
and he was coming to a break, and he says, if you've got a watch that isn't working,
Oh, yeah.
what
He's
you
using
get?
all the I stick it next to the
Yeah.
TV and yeah.
He says, put it in your hands and hold
Right.
it in your hands like that.
Right.
So off Alan Troops gets a watch, puts it in his hands, but he didn't fix it.
No.
But I thought,
Well, apparently he doesn't fix a lot of things. Your granddad wasn't very happy with him either, was he, Dave?
Well, in that second, I think that, yeah, he wasn't, like my granddad wasn't.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
so I thought, again, how does he know that?
Yeah.
I thought, that's from
Yeah,
way
yeah.
back, you
Yeah.
know. And I thought, oh, I'm definitely interested in this and I need to take it further.
Right.
And I got myself on Facebook and I found a paranormal group on there.
Now, there's plenty of paranormal things on Facebook.
Yeah.
Not just groups.
Was that paranormal or abnormal?
Well, yeah. Bit of both.
Yeah.
We're not talking
And-
about my online dating again, are we?
Yeah, we are.
So I joined up with one of them,
Right.
watched what they were doing, they used
Right.
to go places and
Yeah, yeah.
people used to put reports in and I used to think, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I can't do it on my own.
Mm.
So I got in touch with them and I said I would love to do one,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, but
Yeah.
obviously I'm not coming on my own. They said, come on your own,
Right.
not a problem, you'll be made to feel welcome,
Yeah.
like one big happy family.
Right.
And I went, and it was the first time I went.
Mm.
There was knocks, there was bangs, and I
Right.
thought, well, it could be.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And one experiment we did with what you call a planchette.
A what?
A planchette.
A
It's
planchette.
A piece of wood
Right.
on wheels with a pen in.
Right.
And you're supposed to put your finger on it,
Right.
ask questions,
Right. And then it
the
draws
spirits
the
move
answer.
the boards.
All right, yeah, yeah.
It can
Most
also
of
be
the
used
planchette,
for
you know.
like remote drawing as well.
Right.
So you can get it to write stuff or it can draw stuff. So
Right,
and
right,
it's
right.
sort of usually a triangular in shape.
Right.
It's either got wheels or highly polished, like a stand, like a feet rather. Highly
Yeah.
polished
Right.
feet.
Right. Right.
And then a
Right.
pencil or a felt tip pen can
Right.
sit in the middle of it.
And does it have to have fingers on it?
Yes,
Right.
it would do.
Right.
Not necessarily.
Well, yeah, there is the trigger object exercise you can do with it
Right.
as well.
We've actually used a planchette, and when everybody's taken their fingers off it, it's actually flown off the table itself.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I have heard that
So,
happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So you used a
we-
planchette?
We used a planchette.
Way. Look, big words. I'm learning some big words tonight.
And it started moving, and I'm thinking, no, there's something not right here.
Yeah.
So I actually physically got up off my chair. I was under the table. I was all over,
Right,
looking for
looking for how it
magnets,
works,
strings, whatever. Couldn't find a thing.
Right.
Couldn't find a thing.
Right.
Um,
Thought you were a bit
So
of
I
a
was-
James Randi there, did you?
well, just from my own good, I thought,
Yeah.
well, what's the point in paying
Yeah,
money
yeah.
if it's just going to be rigged,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So it was fine.
Oh, so they were charging you for this?
Oh yes,
Right,
it's a ghost hunt where you pay to go
You
to
pay,
these
yeah,
events.
yeah, yeah.
Excuse me. But couldn't find anything, as I say.
Hmm.
And that set us off. I started to go regularly,
Right, right.
and I've had various different things. Not a lot happened to me, but
Right,
I've heard things, I've seen things happen to other people.
right, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and I have done a body bag.
Yeah,
As
you're
a-
telling us about
as
that
an
last,
object,
last
so
on the last show, weren't you? All about the getting into the body
that's
bag,
very
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So I'm still looking. I do query when I do hear something,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, or
Yeah.
feel drafts. I'll look for where they could be coming from and
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that, you
Yeah.
know, which I think you've got to. But
Yeah.
but I do believe
Right.
that there is something,
Right, yeah.
you know.
Right. Yeah. I know you were you're on about the EMF, unbelievable, and yeah,
It's going to be playing on the show tomorrow.
exactly, I will do that, and the crystals as well. Is that something that you have? You know, do you use all the time, or you know, did you learn to use them, or you
Just
know?
from doing the ghost hunts.
Right,
And
right.
they have a box with all the equipment
Right.
in,
Right,
and it's for you to get your hands on
right.
and use.
Right,
you know.
hold on, guys, I'm just going to stop you there. For some reason,
Right, I'm joined at the Welcome Tavern by Christine, who is Amron Radio's paranormal expert, because I am not. So, and
well, stop.
Oh, dear man,
That's
Right, I'm joined at the Welcome Tavern by Christine, who is Amron Radio's paranormal expert, because I haven't got a clue, and Dave just waffles on most of the time when he tells me stuff. So Christine's here to explain all about the paranormal and to tell us a little bit about herself. So, how did you get involved, Christine?
Well, I never believed in it. I was always a skeptic
Right?
until, unfortunately, I lost my husband.
Yeah.
I then went to see some spiritualists,
Right.
spoke to a medium, and I actually was gobsmacked at what he told us.
Right. Did you just speaking about going to see the spiritualist and the medium? Was that because you wanted to make contact with your husband, or
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You felt that that was the way that
I
you
needed
go.
that, I think.
Yeah.
So I went, and he did set out to do me cards,
Right. Yeah.
tarot cards,
Yeah.
but he said he couldn't read them because he
Right.
had a lady screaming at him.
Right.
And he did ask if my mum had passed, and I went, yeah. I says, but that's a 50-50 question,
Yeah.
really.
Of course it is. Yeah.
And he says, you asked her to take Alan and look after him, didn't
Yeah.
you? We could pick some off the floor.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew. I thought,
Yeah.
how did he know that?
Yeah.
Because that was between me and
Right.
Alan's mum,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
He
So it was
then-
Alan's mum rather than your mum.
rather than my
Right,
mum.
right,
I mean,
right,
my mum
right.
had passed as well.
Yeah.
But he didn't know it was going to be Alan's
Yeah,
mum. He
yeah,
had a
yeah.
motherly figure.
Right. Yeah.
So
You just
he
had somebody
assumed it was
mother,
mine, yeah. And I did say to him, you asked your mum, and I went, no.
Yeah.
And he says, you did? I says, no.
Yeah.
So I had to sort of explain to
Yeah.
him,
It
it wasn't my mum,
but
it was Alan's
Alan's
mum.
Yeah.
So,
Which
got
technically
her-
was your mother-in-law, so technically he was right,
Well,
wasn't he? With
yes.
it? I said it was your mother, yeah.
So as I say, got that bit done. She was thanking us for looking after Alan for the past 6 months because
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was dying anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
So it was something that was expected.
it was
He
expected,
didn't
yes.
like sort of die in a horrible car accident or something like that.
No,
It was something
no,
like
it
that.
was expected.
Right.
Just it was lingering. and
Yeah,
he didn't
right.
want to linger,
Right, right.
you know. So as I say, I'd got out one night and I'd said, "Now, will you please just take him and look after him?"
Right.
So I thought, well, the medium couldn't have known that,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. And then he proceeded to say,
So this was after he passed, like you asked his mother to look after him?
yes, because
Right.
obviously she had passed as well.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so
No, I just, what I meant was it was after he passed. It wasn't like you were saying because he was in a lot of pain that you wanted his mother to come and take him. Right.
well,
He'd already
he
passed.
was no, he
Oh,
was
right,
actually
right.
still alive.
Oh,
at
so
the time.
it was a
He
case
was
of
in
you.
pain,
It was a
he
case
was-
of you saying to his ma, "Come on,
Just
take
come
him."
and look
Yeah,
after him, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Which must have been really hard because that's an horrendous thing to think. You know, that you want your loved one to go. You know.
yeah,
and,
but when you can see them
yeah,
disappearing in front of your face every day,
No, I fully get where you're
it's
coming from.
not a very
but
nice thing.
and that's what I mean. It must have been an horrendous thing. When I say horrendous, I don't mean horrendous as in, you know, you were being horrendous. I mean it's
Yeah.
an horrendous thing to say for you because you know you're wanting that loved one to go because you can see the pain and suffering that
yeah,
that person's going
that's
through.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. So as I say, you got that right, and you did see Alan said there was to say to you, Yuri Geller. Does it mean anything? So of course I just burst out laughing
See,
and I went, oh yes.
I can't stop laughing
Yuri
when
Geller.
I can't stop laughing when somebody mentions Yuri Geller. He just has that effect on me. He's got to sue me, isn't he? Because he sues everybody else.
I've got the legal department on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. That wouldn't surprise me.
So anyway, he said, Yuri Geller, and he said, does it mean anything? I went, yes it does. And that's from years and years back.
Right,
He was on TV,
right.
he was having a break during the show, and he says, if you've got a broken watch, get it and I'm going to fix it.
Right, yeah,
So,
as usual, like sort of.
Off toddled Alan to go and
Yeah.
get this watch. And he had to sit with his hands like that.
Yeah.
But the
It's all to
watch-
do with the static electricity, isn't it? That's how he restarts watches. But he says it's all this psychokinetic energy, but it's all this static electricity. That's why they stick them next to the TV or put them
Funnily
in their
enough,
hands.
Alan
or
used
the-
to stop watches.
Yeah. Yeah, because of the.
Couldn't wear a watch. He actually had to
Yeah.
eventually end up with a military strap.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually touching his skin, you know.
Because I actually have so much static electricity that it recharges me watch. So I'm the opposite of
Right.
what Alan would do. If I put a watch on that's dead, then I'll actually
You can
recharge
restart it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's my superpower.
Paddy power.
Way.
So anyway,
The legal team didn't like that one either. Can't say Paddy power.
Yeah. No, do me.
Then that would do me.
Yeah, there is other betting forums out there.
Hey dear. Sorry.
so
Trying to be
anyway,
serious here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
he didn't fix the watch anyway, so never mind. And I thought, I'm really definitely interested in this now.
Right.
You know,
Because
there's,
of what
there's
this,
got to be
because
something.
of what this medium had said to you.
Well, yes, because
Yeah.
there was nobody else knew.
Yeah.
You know, and one was that far back in my mind.
Right.
You know,
So you
'cause-
had no connection to this medium. There was no way this medium could have known this.
No, it was the first time I'd ever seen
Right.
him. First time I'd ever
Right.
seen him.
And obviously you went to see him because you wanted to make contact with Alan or find out that he was safe and well. Whatever.
Yeah, and it was actually my sister. She lives in independent living, which used to be like Charlotte House.
Right. Yeah.
And they had actually invited some mediums there
Right.
to like do a demonstration
Yeah.
for them, you know.
Yeah.
And she phoned us and said, I know it's only 5 weeks since Alan's
Yeah.
gone. Would you like to come?
Yeah.
And I went, well, I might as well, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up there. So anyway, after that, I thought, I need to get something done. So I was on Facebook, and I found
Did he
this.
charge much, this medium? My next sort of statement is the reason why I'm asking. Is I picked 4 women up in my taxi the other night who'd been to see a medium, and they were charged £45 each for an hour's reading.
No.
Ah,
Nowhere near
yeah.
that. And,
And-
what he was charging for, he actually passed on to Help for Heroes.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah.
I was quite happy with that.
Because that's the problem with mediums, and that is these people who, like this, the lady who was charging £45 each person, you know, that they're fleecing people, and the women said that she told them nothing that they didn't already know,
Yeah.
or that they couldn't have known from somewhere. But so yeah, but this one obviously was
Genuine.
yeah,
Yes, genuine. So I went on Facebook, found a paranormal group
yeah,
called Ghost Northeast.
right,
That's who I go with.
right.
First time I just
Was there many years ago?
on each hunt. That's about anywhere from 25 to 30 people.
Right, so it's quite a few.
Quite popular, yeah. And I mean, after Alan died, I never used to go anywhere.
Right,
You know, so this was a way of getting
This was
us out
like-
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
You know, getting
Yeah.
into people. And I just used to watch through Facebook what people were putting on, where they'd been,
right,
what had happened, and I
Yeah,
thought,
yeah.
oh, I wouldn't mind doing that.
yeah,
Contacted them, said I would like to come, but I've got nobody to come with.
yeah,
And they said, come on your own.
right,
We're a friendly group, you'll be made to feel welcome.
yeah,
And I was, you know, I was looked after. There was another member of the group took us under our wing, and I stayed with her all night.
yeah, yeah.
So we were busy going round, and I heard bangs, knocks, things like that, and I'm thinking, well, I'm still not sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then we come to use this planchette.
Yeah. What's a planchette?
Piece of wood with wheels, with a pen through the middle.
Right. See, I knew that, but the listeners probably didn't. Yeah, I know that because 30 seconds ago I was explaining. Well, it wasn't. It was a little bit more than 30 seconds ago, but I was just explaining that earlier on.
He's
So,
cheating again.
yeah, well, of course, yeah. Anything for the win.
So we were using this planchette, and I couldn't believe the way it was moving.
Right.
You know, there was just 3 girls on,
Right.
and it was moving.
Right.
And I did say to the team leader, I says, what would happen if we changed the girls for the boys? And
Right.
he said, well, why don't we swap over and try it?
Yeah.
So we did, and the boys got no action.
Right.
Didn't move an inch.
Standard Saturday night, isn't it, Paddy?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Story of my life.
So anyway, we swapped back over, the girls went back on, and it was moving again, and it actually started drawing what I thought was fingers.
Right.
And then it started to draw. We thought it was a flower on a stalk.
Right.
But somebody came up with a bright idea, because at the time we were at the Theatre Royal and they were just putting on the production of Mary Poppins.
Oh, right, yeah.
And she says, that could be a chimney sweep's brush.
All right, instead of a
And I
flower.
went,
Yeah.
oh, and I says, those fingers could be the chimney tops,
Right.
you know, the stalks.
Yeah.
And it started going mad. So
Right.
you say, well, yes, you're right, you know.
Right. I was going mad saying no. I was going fingers in a flower.
But we thought, brilliant.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, we'll put some music on,
Yeah.
see what happens.
Yeah.
Put a couple of songs on from Mary Poppins, and it was just moving.
Mm.
Put, I don't know whether if you can remember when
Was it at the Theatre Royal? Did you say that you were doing it, or
was at the Theatre Royal
Right.
in Newcastle. In the film where all the sweeps are on the rooftop,
Oh yeah. Chimney,
and they're singing Step in Time,
chim.
I think it is.
Is it
Step in Time,
Is it?
yeah.
I thought Step in Time was the one with the bamboos. Isn't that Chimney Roo that they do on the roof? I've got no idea. Isn't
I'm
it?
sure it's Step
I
in
can't
Time.
remember, where's our musical expert?
I was going to
She's-
say, where's our musical expert?
So anyway,
Whatever it was, anyway.
we'll
Yeah.
put that on,
Yeah.
and it just went absolutely out of control.
Right.
It was as though it was moving in time
Right.
to the music,
Right.
you know, and
Stepping in
I
time.
thought, right, okay. Got off my chair, had a look, was looking underneath for magnets, strings, whatever.
Yeah.
Couldn't find a thing.
Right. And so you were looking to make sure that there was nothing
Nothing there.
that could affect it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because obviously I thought, well, if there's something there,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be paying money to come on a ghost hunt.
Yeah. Of course.
For it to
of
be
course.
rigged,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Of course.
And I've been on quite a few since.
Right.
And
And have you used the planchette and whatever you've seen?
Oh yeah, quite often.
Yeah. And
Quite
do you get a
often.
similar result, or does sometimes you
It all
don't get anything
depends.
at all?
Sometimes they decide they don't want to play,
Right,
and they're not going to bother.
right,
You know, but I mean, we use all sorts of different equipment.
yeah,
Crystals, EMFs, key
Right.
meters, things like that.
right.
Um,
So how does the crystal work? Because I know you mentioned it earlier on. And we know what an EMF is. It's unbelievable. But how does the crystal work?
it's just a crystal on a chain.
Right,
Put the chain over your finger,
right,
keep your hands still,
yeah,
and you just ask the spirit to show you the sign for yes.
right,
And sometimes it goes back and forward, sometimes it
Right.
goes round and round,
Right.
sometimes it can go anti-clockwise. And then you ask, obviously,
Because you
for-
can do that with a pregnant woman as well, can't you? With a crystal, you can stick a crystal over the pregnant woman, and if it circles, it's a boy, or if it circles, it's a girl. If it swings backwards and forwards, it's a boy, or something like that. I can't remember the exact thing. I mean, I did it to Aaron's mum, and I think it was wrong. I think it said it was supposed to be a girl.
Is that
And it
like
was
using
boy.
your wedding ring?
I've got no idea.
There's one way you can use your wedding ring. and you can-
Whatever it was, I
Yeah.
did, and it was wrong because it said Aaron was going to be a girl, and sometimes I wonder, but no, he was definitely a boy.
Oh, okay.
and as I say, just ask questions.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only get sort of yes and no answers
Yeah,
to that,
yeah.
obviously.
Yeah,
You know, but if you do find something, then you can maybe push
So-
the next question.
because I was just about to say, because it's a yes and no, how do you know what question to ask?
It's mainly just questions that you obviously,
Yeah,
are you male, are you female,
yeah.
did you live here, did you work
Right,
here, things
right.
like
It's,
that.
it's like a bit of a game of yes, no.
Right.
You know, when you sort of what's a kids game called where you select your animal, vegetable,
Animal,
mineral.
vegetable, mineral.
So what,
is
I
that?
can't remember that game's called.
No idea.
Oh, I used to play one.
I was thinking of Guess Who, but that's a completely different thing.
No, that is.
Have you got a beard?
No, but
You
it's,
can
it's,
ask that.
Yeah, well, yeah,
but it is. It's just that it's like asking questions, yes, no,
yeah.
and it's sort of it's sort of you get a response through the crystal.
Right, right,
So it's quite interesting.
right.
Quite an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's sometimes what we use. It's
Right. So you said the crystal EMF. What was the other thing?
key two,
A what?
a key two.
A K2. That's a mountain, isn't it? What, you take a mountain,
It's,
are you?
It's not. It's electrical field. I'm trying to think off the top.
It's
of
to
my
do with electricity. You
electrical.
can
Electrical field.
electrical energy.
Give us 2 seconds. I shall consult
Right.
the oracle.
Yeah, good idea. Because I haven't got a clue. Like I say,
It's actually it's got
K2
lights
to
on
me is a mountain.
basically. Starts off at
Oh, it's
green.
got lights on
It's
it?
got lights on it.
Whoa, I sound like I like the sound of that. I like that.
And if there's something there that can move the lights.
Right,
Again, usually in response to yes and no questions.
right, right.
Because that's all you can sort of get from
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I think the only way you're actually going to get anything to hit is by EVP.
Right.
That's the only way you can actually
What's
hear.
an EVP?
Electronic voice project.
Phenomenon.
Electric voice phenomenon.
Electronic voice phenomenon.
So
Phenomenon.
what's that? Is that when a voice is actually heard?
Yes.
Yeah, what sometimes happens is you'll have something like a white noise or something like that, and you'll
Right.
have like a digital voice recorder,
And then you hear someone,
Yeah.
hello,
and then
in the
you'll
background.
ask a question,
Yeah,
and then obviously you can't hear it, but sometimes depending on what type of recording device you've got, you can actually pick things up.
right.
Used to be, it was first started off with the cassette tapes.
Yeah,
back
yeah,
in back
yeah.
in the day, during the 70s and 80s, they used
Yeah.
to use them. When they bought the
Yeah, because we discussed them and like the Enfield
Yeah.
Hortons and stuff like that, didn't we? About
Yeah.
how they recorded the voices and whatever.
So it just sort of, sometimes it's actually in the white noise, the hissing.
Right.
You'll actually hear the voice in.
I've actually heard that, not in real life, but like used in films where it's like, shh, and then you hear, I'm going to kill you, or something like that, you know.
Yeah, like K2.
Because obviously, you know, it's always something nasty in the
Well-
Hollywood films, isn't it?
Sometimes you just get yes or
We
no
all
responses.
float down here and all that.
The K2 meter is an EMF meter. It's a slightly different meter to the Gauss meter, which we've got with us this evening, and it's
It's slightly different to a what meter?
our Gauss meter, which
Gauss meter.
is Gauss meter, which is the one we showed you before.
Yeah,
which
but
is
what's
the
a
one
Gauss meter? What does it
that
mean?
one that detects electromagnetic
But
frequency.
what does the Gauss bit? Is that just the type
It's
it
just
is?
the type of meter
Right,
it is.
right.
There's a K2 meter, there's a Gauss meter.
Ah, so they're both EMFs.
Yes. Both EMF readers, and this one's done instead.
One's is one with the needle and one with the light.
Yes, the Gauss meter is the one with the needle, the K2
Right.
is the one with the light.
Right.
There you go.
There you go. Hey, I knew we'd get there again.
Always do.
So yeah, so you've used all this equipment, and
Yeah.
and have you heard any voices or
Unfortunately, no,
no?
not yet.
Right.
I'm still waiting.
You're still waiting for that voice.
I'm still waiting, yes.
Still waiting for the hello, Steve.
Um,
But you're getting readings on the EMF and the
Yes,
crystals
yeah.
and what have you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I actually got one before. didn't
Yeah,
I?
yeah, yeah. You were saying earlier on when I was talking to Jeff that you got one from World War II soldier.
Yeah, that was with the crystal.
Yeah.
The
Oh, you're talking
Gauss-
about with the
the
EMF.
Gauss meter,
right,
the
right,
needle.
Right.
I actually got a reading in that room.
Is that the same room as the soldier or?
Yes,
right,
same room.
Right. So you wouldn't be able to
I
tell
had-
whether
I
it was the
couldn't
same
know.
person or not. Yeah.
No. What was strange about it though, I had it at a certain level.
Right.
I went down to the floor and the needle
Right.
dropped back to zero.
Right.
I went higher up
Yeah.
and the needle was on zero.
Right.
Came back
Well,
down
you
to where
just
I
fell one
was
level.
and the needle was so far
Right.
across.
Right.
And I tried it side to side,
Yeah.
both zero.
Right.
So it
So
was
it was
just
like
in
something
this
as if it
one
was floating.
position, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Very interesting, yeah. Because I mean, obviously we'll be going and having a wander around and playing with the EMF, unbelievable, and the K2, climb every mountain, and
It's starting to get a bit weird.
I'm going to be
See what we
hearing
do.
this in me sleep.
Yeah, it's earworm time.
exactly, yeah, earworm. No, don't talk to me about earworms. Are they paranormal? So what sort of things? I mean, you say you've heard noises and you've had crystals and things like that.
Yeah.
You obviously told us in the last show about your body bag experience.
Yeah.
So with that experience, did that frighten you?
No.
So you're more than happy to go back and do the same thing
Yeah.
again and whatever. Because tonight we're going to use you as a trigger again, aren't we? Because we're going to stick you into a room where there is said to be paranormal activity, and we're going to record you whilst you're in there, and because Christine's just a glutton for punishment, and we're going to see obviously if we can get something
That'd
caught
be
on
fine.
both camera and are we going to have the EMF in there with it?
Yeah, we're going to have any of the equipment that Christine wants. We'll give her the equipment.
Right,
So,
and we're also going to have like lasers on the door so that we know if anybody
Yeah, it's-
interferes with the experiment, tries to cross the line
yeah.
and whatever. Yeah, right. What you doing? So you're good to go,
Excellent. Oh, well,
Christine.
definitely are.
You're looking forward to it.
Raring to go.
Well, I think that's unless you've got anything else you want to add to that, Christine. I think we've getting what we need. So we shall. I mean, I'm going to have a chat with Aaron, our cameraman, but and then we'll obviously have a wander around and lock you away.
Lovely.
Thanks
Thank
very much,
you.
Christine. Thank you.
It's fun, no?
Ah, that's all right.
Well,
Because then obviously edit it when the bit that we're
You
talking.
over there.
Right, whenever you're ready.
Right, okay then. Ready? 3, 2, 1, live.
Right, well, we're still at the Welcome Tavern, and now we're joined by Aaron, who's going to be the cameraman. He's going to be following us around today, filming, and he's also, as like Christine, going to be put in a room to act as a trigger. With going to record everything that happens in there. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Aaron.
Well, I'm Aaron, obviously. Obviously your son, as you know. I'm going to be the cameraman for the team.
Right.
I'm looking forward to recording your journey from non-believer to believer.
Oh, so you think at the end of it I'm going to be a believer?
Excellent.
I'm not.
I've always said I like them.
I'm not a believer.
Do you want a
but, I'm a bit on
I
the,
go on.
I'm a bit on the fence when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm not really.
Right. So when you say you're on the fence, does that mean that the you're a non-believer, but it's not a case of you're fixed as a non-believer. So
No, yeah.
obviously, you know, there could be something out there, but
Yeah.
you're unsure at the moment.
Yeah.
But like myself, you're
I
a
kinda see it
non-believer,
as-
but you're willing to accept that if you come across something that you can't explain,
Yeah.
then you'll accept that.
Yeah. If I seen something
Yeah.
and I looked into it and I thought, no, there's nothing
Yeah.
what else it could be, then I would say, yeah, it's paranormal.
So what interests you in this sort of stuff? Because I mean, I obviously am interested in it because of the fact that I want to get behind it all and discover things and what.
I'm not really sure. It's just, obviously it's massive. I mean, there's so many people, like you were saying earlier on, like non-believers are probably more a majority. More people out there believe
Yeah.
than don't believe. So
Definitely.
there's obviously, as I say, no smoke without fire. All these people that say they've experienced something,
Yeah.
like they're all lying. Like
Yeah.
shoot, like the math says that something probably should.
Well, statistically,
Yeah.
with the amount of people, as you say, there should be something out there. But then again, you could go down the route of the religions. How many people don't believe in God, and how many people believe in God? So it's one of those things. I suppose it is very personal. If you've never experienced anything, then you can't say that it exists. But so it's something like a journey that you need to go on. So is that what you're looking for? You're looking for the journey, where
That's why
you
I've
know,
never
and
experienced anything.
Yeah.
Like never done a ghost hunt or anything like that.
Right.
So,
So you've never seen the shadow of people out the corner of your eye, or
No,
anything like that?
I haven't really had any.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So when Dave had his bit of fluctuation in the temperature, did you sit down and
No, I
give it,
never went over. I was
Right.
too busy on the camera, but
Right.
I seen him get excited.
Mildly.
Funny sound in and out. And I seen Christine with the temperature gauge pointing out, so
Yeah.
I never went over.
And did you have a wander out with Christine when she was doing the EMF and the crystal
No,
earlier on?
I
or-
didn't. No.
Right. Because I know she was stood in the corner across there talking to the crystal and what have you,
Yeah.
and sometimes when people are stood in corners talking away at themselves, you're sort of looking for for help for them,
Yeah. No, legitimate experiment.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I always say as well when I'm rocking in my chair. It's a legitimate experiment. Right, so, well, I mean, there's nothing, as you've experienced nothing,
Yeah.
there's nothing really left for us to say, apart from obviously, welcome to the team. As you say, you're obviously my son, and you're obviously half of the name of Amborn Radio. It was named after you and your sister, and almost and your daughter there, named after you and your sister. So you're a big part of the radio station without actually being a big part of the radio station, because without you, it wouldn't have a name. So welcome aboard to the paranormal experience. And let's get on with it and let's see what we find. Let's see if we have a paranormal experience.
That's it. Okay. Right, excellent. Right, okay then, so Christine,
Right.
Yep.
What used to be the entrance to the old barracks here. So we've got the EMF.
No,
Is this
that's
the kit
voice-
too?
that's the voice recorder.
That's the EVP. Is that the
Yes,
one?
that's right.
We've got an EVP going in the corner here. We've got the EMF. The goose.
The
The
goose.
goose. Is it the goose?
The gauss,
The
yes.
gauss. The gauss reader here, and we've also got a crystal. So if you want to talk me through what we're actually doing here.
Well, we're just basically going to ask the spirits if they're here, just to come forward,
Right.
speak to it, let one know by either talking in the EVP
Right,
or by using the meter,
right.
and we can ask some questions with a crystal if
Right.
if you want to.
Right,
Yeah?
yeah, sure, yeah.
Do you want to do the crystal?
I've got no idea what I'm doing, so you'll have to tell me.
I'll show you. Right. Your hand out like that. Right, put your thumb on. That's it. You've just got to keep your hands steady.
Right,
Right. There we go. And just ask the spirits to show you the sign for yes.
Can you show me the sign for yes? I'm not sure if that's
Any
actually
spirits,
doing-
people of the past? If you're here, please show with a sign for yes.
Does that mean I'm broken, or does it just mean that there's nothing here?
It could mean there's just nothing there at the moment.
Right. Because obviously we're going to be at places where there's going to be nothing, so
Oh yes,
you know, it's
yeah,
not necessarily
exactly.
because of the fact that it's not moving doesn't prove anything. It just proves that there may not be anything here.
Are there any spirits there? Can you move this crystal, please? Can you move it harder? So we don't definitely know you're there and you're moving it.
I think it's just the vibrations of me.
I think
don't
so,
it is
yeah.
Actually, I don't think it's actually.
You sometimes do have to have a steady hand for that.
Yeah, and I haven't. But no, I mean we can try it in other places. That's not a problem. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'll move a bit closer. If there's any spirits here, can you show me using the crystal the sign for yes? No, I don't think we're actually going to get anything. Not here anyway. We're just going to. I think we're going to end up at the point where the strain of me holding it is going to be what starts the movement
Yeah.
rather than actually moving. Either or just spirits so like this, so they know where to come.
Spirit, can you show me the sign for yes, please? Can you stop the crystal?
You what? What, move it away? Move it away.
Can you show me the sign for no?
Right.
Stop. Are you a man? Stop the crystal. Did you live here?
I've got no idea what
Now
that
you're
is.
looking at my hand, aren't you?
No, I'm looking,
hoping-
I'm looking at the crystal.
Don't forget to look at my hand so you can see that I'm not
Right.
actually
Well,
moving.
that'll get caught on
That'll
the
get
camera.
caught on camera. Right. Did you work here? Stop the crystal. Thank you. Did you die here? Did you die of natural causes? Did you have an accident? Thank you. Stop the crystal. Thank you. There we go.
Right.
That's just a little taster in here.
Well, I didn't get nothing, so you know, I don't know. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's strange. Some people do, some
Right.
people don't.
Right.
It's it's just a funny
Right.
thing, you know.
Yeah.
As I say, some people can get it to work, other people can't. I don't know if that's something. Oh, you're agreeing with us, are you?
Buddy's useless. No, like I say, we. Thanks very much. We'll obviously. I mean, have we getting anything on the EMF on the Gauss meter? No.
No, it's still it's
So
well,
is it-
like a half maybe.
Right.
But that's it.
Could that not be you?
I
So
suppose it could be. I don't really know.
I don't know how an EMF works.
I'm
so
not
I
technical,
wouldn't-
so
yeah,
I haven't got a
would
clue.
know- I would know if that was like sort of electricity comes through from you.
It could well be,
Right.
but it doesn't seem as though there's.
Yeah. But there was something.
There
here.
was something earlier on, yes.
Right.
Yeah. It actually was down here by the table.
Right. Let's have a look then. Right. Right.
Just keep the button pressed in at the side.
Oh, there's a button here, is there?
Yeah.
Right. That's great. Well, according to this, wherever I go, as soon as I press the button, it's going to move.
It does, but you have to let it. I think that's just the juice to sort of start it
Right.
up, if you know what I mean. You
Right.
keep your finger on the button,
Right.
it sort of goes back to 0, and then
Right.
hopefully.
Right.
Is it moving?
It is.
Right, and that's up at about what, 6, 7?
Yeah.
Could the mic not interfere? Electronic?
It could be.
It could be. I'm not quite sure.
It could be.
Dave, would you know that?
It could be lots. Because what, like, with
The EMF meter, would the microphones affect it?
That's the radio mic, so yes, it's got a back, it's got a current battery in.
Right.
Right.
So if you
Okay, we've got the meter going up to 6 or 7,
Yeah.
but Dave's just been explaining that it could be the radio microphones that we're using,
No, right.
or it could be a phone in my pocket.
Right. Well, I have got my phone in my pocket. So, but then again, if I had my phone in my pocket, I've still got my phone in my pocket here. You know, and it's,
Yeah, so moving down the room,
it only seems to be that one spot because everywhere else that you move to, there's nothing.
there's nothing.
But when you move to that spot, so is it interference from something in this part of the room?
Well, that's strange because there's nothing really
Because it's hitting exactly the same amount in exactly
around
the
you,
same
if
spot.
you know what I mean.
And if I move down here, it goes down. So it is this
It is
spot
just this spot.
and this spot of road. So we'd have
But
to.
there's no electrics there. Can you move your hand nearer to the floor, Paddy?
Yeah, it
See, it goes down.
And if we move it. It's still the same all the way up there.
Yeah.
So it's obviously something, I don't know.
Strange, isn't it?
It is, it's very strange. I mean, it's,
If you, the thing is with that one, Paddy, if you actually hold that in there now, you'll actually be able to see that that there is upped there. There's that actually makes it slightly more, it like doubles the, I'm trying to think of the correct way to describe it. It actually intensifies it, so it'll actually give you a stronger signal.
right, it's gone, whatever it was. It's,
Yeah.
it's up.
So you're going to get something moving in and out of it.
Right.
And, you know, so, to say that it's actually close. So the first thing we do is obviously look at to see if there's a mic there that's actually
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
affecting it.
Yeah,
If the mic isn't affecting it, is there a mobile phone in your pocket or anything like
Right.
that? There's any form of electricity around it,
right,
which is again when the baseline tests were done before.
yeah.
So just making sure that you know, you can actually you know,
Well, whatever
there's
was affected
nothing
before,
sort of
it's-
electric there, is there?
no. I mean, the lights aren't on.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's
but
what-
the electric struggle.
Now you see, I mean, the thing is there's two schools on this with the meters, with the K2 and the Gauss meters. There's two schools of thinking. A lot of paranormal sort of investigators will use them
Yeah.
because they do think, yeah, they're a really really good tool because they do.
But whatever we had before, we haven't got now.
Yeah. So that then
The
to
reasons
suggest
for
to me there's something there.
Right,
That would suggest to me there's
Yeah.
something there as
That
well.
if
Right.
it was a constant where you're moving backwards and forwards
Right.
in and out of that zone and that is there,
right,
then that's absolutely, you know, that would say, yeah, there's something there. So what usually we'd do like a baseline test at the
Yeah.
beginning,
yeah,
where you'd walk round,
yeah.
you'd see where it is, and obviously we'd have like a little, maybe it's like even like
Yeah.
a little map or something.
But what
like that.
about power surges?
Power surges? Again, the only way that I've ever sort of known power surges affect this is where there's you know, the what do they call it, the lines, power
Right.
lines above.
Right,
Right.
You know, you're under like a pylon or something like
Right.
that, and where you've got power surges, because
Yeah.
again, you can actually detect the electromagnetic frequency off that
Right.
as well. So that there is now gone down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the colours on there signify green for safe, yellow for you know, danger, red
Yeah.
for obviously lethal levels.
Right. I
Do you know what I mean?
that.
Which is obviously a thing. But the thing is, like I say, sometimes with them, you can-
Whatever it was, it's not there now.
yeah. So that would suggest to me that something's moved, come in,
Out of the
come
way.
out, and moved out of the way. I mean,
Right.
that would be my interpretation.
Yeah,
of that.
I
Is it showing you
fully
that-
get what you're
yeah.
saying. I mean, my interpretation would be a power surge, but
Yeah.
yeah, I fully get exactly what you said. Because there's nothing anywhere else.
As you walk around,
As we
Yeah.
walk around, there's nothing.
so walking there, where's that?
We're walking into the kitchen now.
Kitchen, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the kitchen and there's nothing. It's showing nothing at all anywhere at all around the kitchen. There's absolutely nothing.
See, now I would actually expect there to be some kind of power surges and things in there now. You
Right.
see that it's obviously,
Yeah.
because obviously there will be a lot of electricity in the kitchen,
Right.
you know, so the fact there's nothing in there, that would suggest to me that it's not, you know, any, there's no baseline
Right.
once it's actually picking up.
Yeah.
So again, was it in this area here?
It was exactly here.
Around this area, yeah. And that's where I got it earlier
Earlier
on
on.
tonight. When I was
And-
home then.
Yeah, and
There's nothing here now.
And what obviously when we were listening there before, because obviously I was in the other room while you were actually conducting that experiment, was there any, did you get any contact through the crystal?
I got
Paddy
nothing at
didn't.
all.
No.
Didn't get
I
anything.
got nothing at all.
But-
Christine did.
I did.
Yeah.
I got nothing at all.
But that could be because some people it doesn't
Yeah,
work for
it's-
them,
yeah.
and some people
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. As I said, I'm not going to cast aspersions and I'm not going to call
Yeah.
anybody a liar. But it could be the fact that you were just twirling the crystal.
Well, I mean that, you know, I mean like I say, that's one. It's one way
That's,
of looking at it.
well, exactly, and that's obviously what we need to look at, isn't it?
That's not moving
You know,
forward there.
but in that, there's nothing at all there.
Do you want to try down the other end of the building where the little boy's been seen?
We'll
Right.
try all. But you have to keep this button pressed
You
all
can,
the time. or
that,
the-
if you keep the button pressed in all of the
Right.
time, that makes it more sensitive.
Right, so it would censor something without me pressing the button.
Yes.
Right.
You just got to keep.
Because I'm just wondering, you know,
It does switch itself off after a few
obviously
minutes.
my mind is going, why would you need to push a button? You know, if
Yeah,
it's,
it keeps the two levels of sensitivity.
right,
So
right.
it's
Well,
obviously-
there's nothing at all coming through, even when I press it, there's nothing at all coming
Yeah.
through this area at all. The only place we've had is next to that table. Everywhere else is.
yeah. So that would. So again, you know, like I say, for me, looking at that as a paranormal investigator, I'd be looking at saying that there was an anomaly in there,
Right.
because obviously the rest of the building's got nothing there.
Yeah.
It was there, then it's not there.
Yeah.
Now it would be a
I
constant.
fully get what you're saying, and I fully understand what you're saying. My opinion as a skeptic would be that
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a power surge.
that's fair
And a
enough.
power surge obviously lasts for a certain period of time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, and then it's gone. So
Right.
we're now over into the entertainment section.
Yeah, this is going to be the
Ah! No, and this is where you said the change was.
yeah, it was in that area there.
Yeah, there's no there. Nothing at all. M's not paranormal. So, and
No,
She
that's
looks quite pleased about that.
there's no way to go behind the bar next to that clock. Right. Obviously, I don't want to interfere with too much. Right, as I walked across this bit, it goes up to 4. So there's a bit here, but then again I'm stood next to a fridge, and obviously these pumps.
So, is that the fact that there's a mobile phone charger next to that?
Oh, there's a mobile phone here, I didn't even see that.
No, no, that's
So,
alright.
yeah,
So,
so, yeah.
you've got a couple of devices there
when,
as
when
well.
I go right up next to that, it goes,
Yeah.
it goes
Well,
fine up to number
the fact
10.
that the fact that the phone is there is that'll give off the
Yeah. Well,
electromagnetic.
it went straight up to number 10 as soon as I went anywhere near
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Like when I'm next to this PayPal thing and the phone, it's up as high as it'll go.
Yeah. Well, that there showing obviously the amount of it.
And then as soon as I move it away from there, it drops down to
yeah,
zero.
yeah, so that kind of that shows the amount of
Yeah.
being careful using our phones up to our heads and all that. It's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It shows all the interference that you get. Did you want to try the crystal anyway, Christine?
I think I do genuinely think we go back down.
Yeah, we will go down there. I'm
there.
just like up here where we.
Is there anything around this area, Paddy?
No,
No.
no, we're getting nothing.
Not at the
all.
moment.
No,
Right.
it's gone up to 1, but I mean 1 could be anything. So is this death corner that you're on about?
Yeah, it's a tough corner.
Yeah, no, there's nothing
You
at
know
all
what's going
there.
to happen? People are going to come in and go, "Where's this death corner?" Then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, there was a chair. I remember one annual camp that we went to. There was a chair, and it was one of those chairs where if you sit here, you will be dead in like a week or something. So Richard Stebbins sat in it, and as far as I'm aware,
He's still alive.
as I was talking to him just the other day on Facebook, unless it was somebody using him as right. I'm getting nothing at all down here.
I'm just finding
No,
the cables
no,
here and trying
Still nothing. No.
This is the fun bit with me not having a wireless microphone.
Exactly, yeah.
I managed to get myself all the way down here.
Right. Well, this is where the boy's supposed to have been seated.
No, this is the lady.
The
The boy was supposed to be peeking around here. Supposed to be running back
sorry,
and
yes,
forth around here.
right.
So do you want to try your crystal there then, just to see? Because there's nothing on the EMF at all.
Right.
I'm getting nothing
If
from
there's
there.
any spirits here, can you show me the sign for yes, please? Thank you.
Seems quite strong.
And can you show me the sign for no?
So we've got a
Circular motion for yes.
Circular motion for yes, and we've got a swinging motion for no.
Yeah. Can you stop the crystal, please? Thank you.
And the crystal stopped there, yeah.
Can you tell me, are you a little boy?
That's going round in a circle there now.
Thank you.
So what was that?
So that was a yes.
Yes, was a circle. was it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's in the spirit of a little boy there.
Spirit of a little boy, yes. Did we know the little boy's name by any chance?
Don't know, do we?
No.
Jeff.
No,
We don't know.
there was. It might not be that little boy. It's just they did lose a little boy.
Oh, there was
So
a
that-
little boy.
it's not necessarily that
Yeah.
little boy.
Yeah.
Right. Did you live here?
Let's go.
Crystal swinging for yes. Stop the crystal, please. Thank you.
So the crystal there was spinning round for yes, and the crystal's now stopped.
Did you die here? Stop the crystal, please. That was a yes.
So so it's
Did you die a natural death here?
that's a yes.
Yes.
Spinning around in a circle.
Stop the crystal, please. Thank you.
Is there such a thing as a natural death for a 10-year-old child?
Well, it could
Well,
be.
yeah. Got deaths, they
Well,
claim on natural deaths,
I was
aren't
going to
they?
say, I mean, the thing is, it depends on. I don't know. I mean, the thing is it's depending on.
You can die by something that is natural, like a heart attack. or
Yeah, I
something
mean, the
like that.
fact is
But
it's
it a
before his
natural
time, I
death?
think.
You know, that's
Before
that-
his time's definitely,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you know, you wouldn't really want to bury a 10-year-old.
No, no, of course you wouldn't.
I think
Definitely.
what you're going for there is there was no foul play. I think it's kind of.
I was
what
just
think
going
where-
to ask,
Yeah.
if that had been a no, I was going to ask if
Yeah.
he was murdered or anything like that, sort of
Yeah.
family wise, you know.
Right. I'm getting nothing at all
There's
from
nothing
this
there at all.
when the crystal's moving.
Yeah. It's strange again, isn't it?
So Kieran Sork, obviously, or is what Paddy's actually doing there now is he's actually trying the Gauss meter again to see if there's any EMF frequency, and there's obviously nothing coming through there.
Can you ask me another question whilst I've got this, because I didn't have it on before.
I was going to ask, are you happy that we're here?
So you wouldn't have me with
I'll tell you what, I
Stop
thought
the
it might have
crystal,
been
please.
a really, really interesting idea here is
What's
just
that?
why we're actually doing this year. We should have had the voice recorder to stick it see
At
if there's
this
any
area.
the EVP
Yeah,
because
because we've got it
Yeah.
over the other side.
yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll go and grab it.
Yeah.
Put that down on
Have you got one yourself?
there. Yeah, I'll put some. I'll grab it and put some batteries in.
Right. That means I can leave mine in the other end.
Oh, has you got one as well?
Yeah.
Right.
And that way, hopefully, I might catch something in one place or another.
Yeah. So the thing is, because you're getting something through on that, I should get something through on this. Because I'm not getting something through on this, then, you know, is one of them not working the way the other one is?
Yeah, because I thought you would, if you're getting action on one, you would have
you
gotten on the
you would
other.
think so,
Yeah.
because obviously if this is measuring EMF or the spirit or whatever, and you're actually getting the spirit, then why is this not picking up that spirit?
Yeah.
That's the question I would have to ask. But I mean, apart from that one little spot, there's nothing really showing up at all.
Well, he's happy we're here anyway.
Let's
If we
maybe
had any
switch in.
balls, we could have played a game with you, couldn't we?
Right, hold on. Let's.
Stop, Crystal. Thank you.
Okay then. Right, what I'm going to do is I've got me my little
You got
voice
your
recording.
EVP, yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the side here. Actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. I've got to. I'm going to set away recording there now, so that's recording. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it down there. So that's away from
Right.
everybody, so it can't be.
Yeah,
We've got the camera on that as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, Spirit. We've now got a voice recorder down here. So if you want to tell us anything like your name and how old you are, then just go speak into it. It won't hurt you. We're not here for that. We're just interested in your story.
So if you could tell us.
That's doing a lot of jiggling. I don't know if that's my hand or not.
What's that?
It's probably enough.
It's jiggling the crystal,
I'm
yeah.
saying there, I'm gonna look at the crystals moving backwards and forwards. Just put the EVP into place. And we'll ask. I mean, I don't know, Paddy. Do you want to ask some questions?
Well, I mean, you know, like obviously Justine's been asking some questions about, you know, are you a little boy?
That was a definite movement there. Yes.
Uh,
So I mean, the thing is if obviously if he's been running around, see if we look at it from spirit point of view.
Yeah.
This little boy's been running backwards and forwards, and he's been wanting to get attention and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So the fact that we're here now,
yeah,
naturally inquisitive, you probably want to play.
yeah,
So the fact is if he wants to play, I mean that's starting to move there quite rapidly there
It's just
now.
always saying yes to you.
So he's been excited to
Conversation.
hear my voice. So again, what we'll do on this point is you want to ask him some questions or anything like that.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take over the crystal.
If you, yeah, because I'm going to think this is obviously what we're going to have to. This is probably going to be a bad thing for radio, but
Yeah, oh, well,
for us.
we should be seeing on there.
Obviously, I'm concerned about
Right.
the fact of there's going to be any silences and stuff like that. But what I would like to do, if possible, is we do a little bit of silence and then to see if we do actually pick up any EVP.
Yeah,
So, you know, asking
Yeah.
the questions and
right.
stuff.
So, are you happy that we're here? What was it then? It was a circle, wasn't it? The
Circle for yes,
What was it?
backwards and forwards for no.
What? So, backwards and forwards for no. Circle for yes.
So it goes round in a circle for yes.
Yeah, Dave, I've just done that.
You've just done that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
This is what I'm saying.
You just moved it.
Yeah, it was me that just did that.
Right,
you
I'm
you
just-
couldn't tell that it was me that was moving it, but I just did that.
Well, I was watching the end of the crystal. I wasn't
Yeah.
watching your hand.
Yeah, no. It's not doing nothing for me.
No?
No.
Okay then.
So, if you're a little boy, come and speak to the EVP machine. You don't have to move the crystal, you can just stop that. Come and tell us your name.
That should be enough time there now.
Tell us how old you are. Did you have any family? Sisters, brothers? Did you have any animals? Do you have pets? Do you like dogs?
Who doesn't like dogs?
Stop the crystal. Do you like cats?
So the crystal moved there for a yes.
And it's going mad for cats as well.
Yeah.
Stop the crystal, please. Thank you. Oh,
That hasn't made any noises or anything like that. Ghost meter.
It's getting nothing at all.
Right. It's
that's
interesting.
very quiet. So obviously, Paddy was just saying, if you're getting answers to this, surely that should be going off at the same time? Would that be right?
I would like to think yes. I would like to
Right.
think that it would go off,
Yeah.
right?
Because what is the energy that's moving that if it's not?
You see, like what I mentioned to you before, there's a 50-50 thing to do with Gauss meters and K2 meters and stuff like that. And people, some people say there's no scientific proof that it'll show like a form of electrical energy if a spirit's
Yeah.
present. Alright, people do like to do it because it kind of, for being a scientific perspective,
Yeah.
if you're walking around, it actually then interferes because there has been some correlation between people going into electromagnetic frequency and then feeling
Yeah.
nauseous or
Yeah.
dizzy
Oh,
or
of
sick
course,
or
yeah.
whatever like that. So that, from a scientific point of view,
Yeah.
would then say to us if somebody started feeling sick or dizzy,
Mm.
which people sometimes do when there is spirit contact,
Yeah.
that would say that there's nothing in the ether that's going to affect,
Mm.
you know, there's no electrical field
Yeah.
there. So that's good from a scientific point of view.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of paranormal investigators think that the actual presence of a spirit would actually make noise or
Yeah.
you know, make the lights on the K2 meter
Yeah.
Yeah.
go on.
And what about the crystal? Why would the crystal not work for me but it works for Christian?
I don't know. I genuinely, that's something I couldn't.
Yeah.
Some people, I've used divining rods in the past and I kind of get away with them, whereas I've seen people, you know, you've used divining rods, and I mean that is a legitimate way of finding water,
Yeah.
and I've
Do
tried.
you want to give the
I
crystal
find
a
they
try?
work brilliant.
Oh, if you want.
Yeah, you know, like divining rods for
Yeah.
me, they don't work, but again for you, they work.
So I'll take over the camera.
Yeah.
That's you.
Excuse me.
You have
Like I say,
about
the
the
fact is,
crystal.
at the end of the day, it's one of them situations where, I mean, there is things where, I mean, we could try locking it off. I have seen people.
Right, so ask it some questions.
You know, trust it.
Just anything you want, as long as it's yes.
taking over the use
Yes
of
or
the,
no. Because the yes is turning.
Are you a boy? Are you happy we are here?
No, he doesn't seem to be getting any
No, there's
responses.
nothing. Just saying that this is
You
probably
want to try?
really bad radio for people to be listening there, but there
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, this is also for the.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously we
No.
are filming this. See, I mean, there's
Yeah.
things with crystals as well. I'll
Do
tell
you
you,
want to try again, Christine?
I'll tell you who's
Are you still here?
sort of really good with crystals is Linda.
Linda?
She's,
No.
my mum, Linda.
Oh, right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Linda's Grizzly Tales. If we're allowed to call it that anymore. But she does
Right.
sort of crystals and stuff like
Right.
that. And she's
Right.
and it's about vibrations for people. So you know, like crystals pick themselves. You know, a crystal pick you and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
kind of there is
Is
a.
that not an easy cop out? that because both me and Aaron didn't get anything
I-
and we just happen to be non-believers, that
I
it's an
don't
easy
know.
cop out? They turn around and say that the crystal won't pick you.
No, but I'm saying, I mean, that's Christine's crystal. That's what I'm saying. It's that she's bought that. It's attuned to her, and that's what somebody who believes in. That's not the right terminology. Somebody who likes
Just, I'm
Christian
obviously looking at it from both points of view
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're going to have your skeptics and you're going to have your believers. And both me and Aaron are non-believers and nothing happened. So obviously, there's nothing being
Yeah.
proven, is there?
Like I said, it depends. It
And
depends
I
on
don't want to,
I
cast
don't-
this person's on
I
Christine
I
at all.
don't know. Like I said, the person speaking to is Linda because she knows
Right.
how it works.
Right.
I've kind of heard people talking about crystals. I'm just
Yeah.
kind of repeating what I've.
Ah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
No,
So
I'm
kind
just
of-
saying, but I'm saying, is that not an easy cop out for somebody who believes to turn around and say, yeah, well, the
it's like
crystal
anything
will
else,
choose it?
really, this, you know, cop out wise and stuff. I mean, the thing is we can we'll check back. I mean, the
Yeah. I mean, if obviously we get some kids
Yeah.
on there, then
You
that'll
get
be
some-
completely
get some
different.
noise on
Right,
that one.
let's go into the gents' toilets because this is where the young boy is said to patrol. Is that even the right phrase?
I'll give you that.
Right, there should be no electricity in here, so I should get no interference. I mean, it's not the best place to be, I think, the gents' toilet. But I'm getting absolutely nothing. Do you want to try your crystal? Because
I've brought the voice recorder in with this as well, just in case.
because I'm getting nothing.
Is that a show?
Right, I've been around the whole of the EMF and there's nothing. I'm getting nothing at all from the EMF.
Are there any spirits with us in here? Stop the crystal, please. The crystal's saying yes. Thank you. Are you the little boy that I've just been talking to? It's going round and round for yes. Stop the crystal, please.
It's just me doing it.
I didn't actually expect anything else.
I'm without Mike.
Yeah. Sorry, who in here?
Apparently it's the same little boy that we've just been told.
Right. Okay then, where's the EVP?
Yeah,
I've got it on there,
I've just gone
on the
round
wall.
all the EVP.
Yeah,
I keep
EVP.
getting
It's up there.
I keep getting the alarm mixed up with the different letters.
Let's hope the EVP doesn't end up in the P.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, definitely.
Are you going to talk to us via that machine? Stop the crystal. That would be lovely if you did. You're going to give me your name? Fabulous. Stop. Anybody want to think of anything else to
I
ask?
can't really
No,
think, but I think
we'll move into the next room.
I think I'll grab that so it doesn't go in the EVP.
Yeah, I can. Definitely.
We want that.
Right, so the EMF isn't taking attention up here.
See, like I said with that one, it's sort of like
Yeah.
I know, going into the ladies.
Is that the you got the camera on in there?
Ah, yeah, but that was for when Aaron comes in. This is it, isn't it?
Right, okay.
Anything, Paddy, or nothing?
Nothing, nothing
Nothing?
at all. No, I've got nothing. The only place I've had anything with an EMV is next to that table, and it obviously came and went.
Is there anybody in this
There's
room
nothing.
with us?
How long's that camera been in here? Has it been switched on once?
No. No, because I thought we were just going to come straight in here and do the sitting in bit, so I just put it in.
Stop the crystal. Are you male? Are you female?
It's real, so.
Hello. machine here. My name's Christine. It's Dave, Paddy, Aaron. If you're speaking to the machine, you can give us your name if you would like. That would be lovely.
That's this one here with the red light on.
Thank you. Stop the crystal. Did you live here? Stop the crystal. Did you die here? Did you move before you died? Okay, thank you. Did you die naturally? Did you commit suicide? Were you murdered? Stop the crystal. Most of these answers have been yes, by the way.
I was going to say we're completely
Well, actually stopped.
yeah, it's just
Did you know your murderer? Stop the crystal, please. That's saying yes. Was it a relative that murdered you? Stop the crystal, please. That's yes. Did he stab you?
I think what we need to do is we need to give this person, if there's somebody here, time. So I think if we go out a couple of minutes, and if they want to speak into the GP.
okay then. Right.
Okay, Spirit, we're going to leave you. We'll leave that machine here. If you want to say anything, feel free to speak into it.
We'll not have time to obviously do the trigger things. We're not going to. Oh yeah, well, we what you can't do.
Right, pause that off there now, so that's